Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah.
Monday. I'll bring it in Monday.
It's Friday!
Let's
go! We made it. We made it to Friday.
Big
we
day.
Made it to Friday. I'm having a fascinating pre-show conversation with McNuggets, who is finding out that when you give opinion, you will piss people off. So
Yeah.
you're annoying, according to one of our regular viewers.
Yeah, I got a DM yesterday saying that he liked me until yesterday, and now I'm annoying. So.
Congratulations.
There
That means
you
you've made it.
You made it.
That's how you know.
It's a little different behind the window, and out here you get them live strays.
Did he tell you what show he's on, so we can watch him?
No, but we've talked before. Like we've had back and forth before, so it is what it
you're
is.
kind of boys, but now because you gave a take that he didn't like, you're annoying.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah, it takes time to get. It takes time to develop a cult that loves you, irregardless. Like regardless of what happens, and you know what? The first year, if you do it enough, and you're inflammatory. If you do it enough, first year everybody hates you. But what starts to happen is if you're right, you start to slowly but surely, you're like, you know what? Damn it, he was right about that.
Yeah, when you're right more often than you're wrong, it helps.
It helps, right? Then they're
helps.
looking around like, wow, he's decent.
In that conversation we were just having, you said you've never gotten a death threat.
Not a single one.
Is that because you don't look at social media, or just you don't think you've ever actually?
No, I don't look at it nearly as much as most.
Yeah.
When I go to tweet, that's when I see it.
Yes.
But I don't really tweet almost never now.
Yeah.
Because I learned it's kind of an exercise in futility. I don't need people to tell me I'm great, and I don't need people to tell me I suck.
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
I
So
took
I believe
that
people
too.
go there for validation.
Yeah.
And I got to a point, I don't know when, I just got to a point where you really do say this. You'll get there. I learned this from Skip Bayless. You really stop caring because you realize everybody has an opinion and they all count for exactly the same thing in your bank account. Nothing. Doesn't matter.
Have you got a death threat?
No.
How can I be the only one up here?
What did you say that issued that warranted someone issuing a death threat?
I will bring it in. I have it framed. It is in my bedroom. It's one of the only pieces of art I have, but it is legit.
Did you tell station management about it?
No. This was when I was still in college.
Oh.
I used to write. You remember Dime Magazine?
Yeah.
I used to write for Dime Magazine just on freelance stuff. And this was when LeBron was leaving.
I remember Dime.
Yeah, they're not even around anymore. That's how old it was. When LeBron was leaving Miami, they asked me, hey, will you do a top 5 destinations for LeBron? And the Cavs and the Bulls were the top 2.
Yeah.
And a Miami Heat fan, I have the tweet. I'll bring it in Monday. I'm not going to say it out loud. I'll save it for Monday. I'll show you guys real quick, though.
But he basically threatened
he told me to kill myself. And it was very funny.
Telling someone to kill themselves and threatening to kill someone is different. That doesn't qualify as a death threat.
Dang, you wow, this is crazy.
Let me see.
I really have it. I have it framed in my apartment. Don't read out loud. It's words we can't say.
Whoa. Look.
Damn, he went in, bro.
Dang, bro. That's how you feel, dog?
I feel left out. Mike, can you screenshot
that?
I'll
send it to you.
No, here's the deal. You're going to have to tune in Monday.
I'll bring this in Monday, and we can't read it because
we don't have a show Monday.
We'll bring it Tuesday. Bring it in Tuesday. Great call.
Did you tweet this guy back?
No, I don't give a crap.
Now here's the difference.
Well, this one warranted tweeting something back.
What am I gonna do? Argue with? What's his name again? It's Coach. I think it's a picture of Mike Patton.
It is Mike Patton.
It's Miguel Patton.
That is, yeah.
That's
so it's the Spanish Mike Patton.
Hey, can you imagine what exotic defenses he would run?
Oh my God!
Hey, I used to
he runs the Pentagon.
Yeah,
5 points. Oh my God!
I used to. Well, you gotta think. Y'all been in the industry way longer than me. No. So I used to always tell people, like, I got a regular job. Like, you might actually see me in the middle of the street. Like, you'll never see Jay and Bull. You're not gonna see these dudes. Like, where you're not going to be the same places they are. Y'all don't eat at the same restaurants.
Yeah, we don't eat at
Y'all don't be at the same car lots.
Here's a point I want to make, though, and it's a distinction because I learned this from Skip. That's not actually a death threat. He was wise enough to know how to get around any FBI interdiction. You can't go around threatening people's lives.
Yeah.
You can't do it. whether it's on social media
Yeah.
or in real life. You cannot do that. He wisely knows that.
He's a pro too.
So what he did was he just instructed you to take your own life.
Okay, I guess that's fair. Yeah, he didn't.
And by the way, they're so crazy. How many years ago was that?
It was 2014, I think.
In 2014, that was rampant online. That was rampant. That was a different
and you
world.
Know what?
July 10th, 2014.
In all honesty, it might have been a little later than that for me. That was when I realized, I just made the realization, online babble, whether it's, no matter what it is, if you don't own it, and LinkedIn just did something for anybody that follows LinkedIn. They're making all account users verify their identity with a driver's license, front and back. Mm-hmm. And when I first got that, I'm like, no, I'm not sending my driver's license.
That feels like giving information out there.
I didn't like it. Then I read up on the process, and they're using a third party that uses encrypted servers, and none of the information is saved. It's just used one time. They verified that that's you. And here's why. People were catfishing other people with Twitter and Instagram accounts by simply making an Instagram account as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
because that's what gives someone validation.
That was their second-party validation.
So when you search someone and you see that they have a LinkedIn profile, you're like, oh, okay. That's always been looked at as that's different.
It's a little different.
It's not for sharing political opinions, although people have gone to doing that. It has a pretty specific business purpose.
They do that now?
So now LinkedIn is saying, and if you have an account and you haven't received this message yet, you will. Your account's been locked until you verify that you are who you are.
Interesting.
It is interesting, and the reason I bring that up is because that's where it's all going.
Yeah.
As Congress is starting to get involved in legislation that will prohibit online bullying and cyber crimes and identity theft, digital identity theft, this is where it's all going. LinkedIn sees that, and they're just getting ahead of the curve. But very soon, so get ready, all you egg icons.
Them eggs.
Very soon, it will likely be a federal law that if you have an account in which you share information online, no more hiding. No more Mr. Internet Muscles.
Yeah.
No more Mr. Kevin 61475. None of that.
See?
So if you get a tweet from Miguel Pettin, you'll know exactly who it is, and so will the authorities.
And
watch what that will do in terms of online bullying, online crimes. The hope is this is the gateway to the future of safe internet.
I feel bad for Kevin Durant.
I do too. No more burner account.
No more
Hey,
burners.
I tell you what, it's just like the game. It was a game changer. This is the next thing. When people realized, they was like, you know what, sir? You said you weren't at the, at the scene of the crime. We have cell phone pinging.
Right.
That puts you directly 4 miles at the. You're like, but no, I wasn't there. I threw my phone.
Your phone was there.
Your phone was there, bro.
Yeah,
they changed the game.
Yeah, that was a game changer. DNA, forensics, all of that stuff. Basically, what it is it's social forensics.
Yeah.
It's social media forensics. So all of these people that want to jump into a conversation and tell Mike to do dastardly things. I've never quite heard it put that way, by the way. That's original.
I'll honest to goodness, bring in the frame picture. Ian, I'll show you after.
Yeah,
we have an intern here today.
We do have an intern here. He's I call him Ian the super intern. He's upstairs at Channel 3. I've heard great things about him. I haven't worked directly with him, but everybody that's come in contact with Ian says the dude's awesome. He wants to learn a little bit more about sports media, so you're here checking things out. I see you wear the Miami shirts on a pretty reg. Are you a Miami grad? Are you going to school there currently?
No, so I'm currently going there. I'm a rising senior.
Nice. Very nice.
Rising senior for anyone who can't hear.
He's not mic'd up. He's a rising senior. He's here just to sort of check things out.
What is that?
He's going to be a senior.
Going to be a senior.
He's between his junior and senior year.
How come I was never using
You've never heard that term?
Yeah,
no.
rising.
I've also never heard that term.
I went to
That's pretty common.
Rising.
Yeah,
I never.
Yeah, rising.
Yeah.
That means you finished your junior year and
Rising
now
to
you're
your
rising
senior,
to
yeah.
your senior year. You're not quite a senior, but you're not quite a junior.
We do have a jam-packed show. We also
That's
have
busy.
some breaking John Morant news, which we'll touch on.
Wait, is it
25-game suspension? That is official.
When did that come out?
Like 4 minutes ago.
Okay, I missed
So we'll get into that. But before we do anything, I know
we
you're
gotta
going to say
give
something.
a big shout out to Skilly in the chat, he just gifted 20 memberships.
Wow. Shout out
What's his name?
Skilly, Skilly.
See, now in the new real world, we'll be able to say, that's Mike Skillman. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate that.
Well, Skilly,
his address is
no, we don't want to do that. But with Miss Skilly, that's awesome, man.
Shout out to you, bro.
That's awesome. So we have 20 new memberships.
And we had 16 gifted yesterday. And I promise you guys, come closer to football season, there will be some memberships gifted from the UCSS family.
Absolutely.
Wait until a little closer to football season, but I promise you that is a McNuggets promise to the people. It is coming.
Yeah. So, okay, the Ja Morant news. Now, do you want to shuffle things up and put that up to the top because it's breaking news?
Yeah, we can get into that.
I will say this. So I'll tease everything that's coming up. We're going to talk about what makes a great owner because Stan Kroenke just won his 5th pro sports team title since the start of 2022. 5th. We in the city of Cleveland in the last 57 years have won. So we're going to talk about what the hell makes this guy such a good owner. What's he doing that our guys aren't? And we'll try to sift through that and try to make sense of it. By the way, Stan Kroenke owns the Rams, owns the Colorado Avalanche, which won the Stanley Cup last year, and, of course, the Denver Nuggets, which just raised the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Is it still the Larry O'Brien Trophy?
Yeah.
Okay. I know they're changing trophy names left and right these days.
Still Larry O'Brien.
Okay. We're also going to talk about the Guardians, but I do think that we should go off this news. 25 games. I'm just going to throw my immediate reaction out. This is too light. And I'm curious to see what you guys say about that. I'll tell why in a second, but 25 games shocks me. I had been hearing it was going to be between 25 and 30. I wasn't believing those reports.
Yes, let me just real quick, just so we're all on the same page here. Shams Charania and Woj have both reported that it's 25 games.
It's official then.
It's official. Woj also said that there are stipulations that come with the suspension he has to fulfill, and I apologize for reading off my phone, but this just came in.
That's fine.
He has to fulfill certain conditions within the team and the league for their approval. Yeah, it's a very long statement from there, so I'm going to try sifting through here. Do you want me to read the statement from the league?
Sift through it. We're going to come back to you for the cliff notes in 30 seconds. But, G. Bush, what's your immediate reaction when you hear 25 games? Because I thought that it would be 41 as a low and 82 as a high for a full season.
I'll throw my first judgment out. Just hearing it from what I'm just like you guys are hearing just now.
Yeah.
I always go back and say, what is the largest suspension I think ever given? And I think it was if you take a look at the Malice at the Palace, right?
Ron Artest, right? It was 71 games? It was the remainder of the season.
71.
71.
I think that's what it was.
So when you take a look at what that meant, I mean, he was in the stadium, in the stands, fighting a patron, right? That's the thing that you never want to get to. Your patrons, the customers, the fans are a part of that. So I guess that's the harshest letter of the law. Like, hey, you're fighting a fan, that you can be in trouble. Next, I'd look at suspensions for things like PD or gambling, right? So I'm looking at this during the spectrum. I expected it to be a half a season. However, I don't necessarily know what the Players Association had to say about it, right? When Gilbert Arenas took guns to work, right? Was he suspended for how many games?
I don't remember. I don't remember what it was, but it was maybe 10.
Maybe 10.
I don't know if we can look that up, Anthony. When Gilbert Arenas was busted bringing a gun into the Washington Wizards
Tavares Crittenton.
Did he get 10 games? My memory could be off. That's been 10 years.
Yeah. So he brought it to the workplace, and it was some animosity going on. They was going back and forth. Sure. Like, they was bringing guns, like, to show. And so I look at it and say, okay, well, if the Players Association says, hey, we do have some stipulations and we do have something that we can compare it to. The guy brought guns to work. He was outside of practice. He was outside of a facility. He didn't have any involvement. Yes, he did get suspended, and he's a second-time offender.
That's it for me.
I thought they was going to get him on the second-time offender. I look at it like this. I think they probably had a range. I think originally it probably was half a year. And I don't know.
Was negotiated down
I think it was negotiated down, and I think there's some stipulations that we'll find out he has to complete for it to get to that point.
Yeah, let's go to McNuggets for that.
Yeah, so the direct stipulations and details of whatever program are not officially announced, but this is directly from the statement the NBA released 14 minutes ago. Quote from Adam Silver: prior to his return to play, Ja Morant will be required to fulfill and formulate a program that the league has directly correlated to address the circumstances that led him to repeat this destructive behavior.
Okay, so this is something tailored specifically to him.
This is not a...
Did you guys see that Skip Bayless said this on his podcast? I didn't watch it. I read the headlines and read a brief synopsis. Skip has become very, very, very good friends with Lil Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh yeah.
And I don't know if Skip asked Lil Wayne to reach out to Ja Morant or if Lil Wayne did it on his own, and in Skip having conversation with Lil Wayne, this came out. Maybe he told Skip. I reached out to him, and he left me on red, as they say. Mm-hmm. So what worries me about that is, Lil Wayne has major, major cachet in the community.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all kind of recognize it. At least he did with those of a certain age group.
Oh, he still do.
I'm wondering, though, if can you imagine Lil Wayne reaching out to an NBA player and an NBA player thinking, no, I don't need what he has to tell me? Because we've heard a lot of folks that have done that. Jalen Rose reached out. There are a lot of other guys that have kind of gone through his life, and they want to help him. And to me, what that symbolizes more than anything is this is a young man that believes he already has all the answers and he doesn't need anyone's help.
I think you can look at it like this as well. You can look at it, maybe he's in a dark place. Sometimes when you do something right, and you're like, dang, I done messed up again, and the whole world knows it and the whole world is on it, sometimes you tune out. Like, you try to tune it out as much as you can, especially he doesn't know really what the impending, disqualification is going to be. If his suspension is a year long, he's like, man, that's crazy. If it's a half a year, that's crazy. So he's thinking about what the punishment is going to be. And sometimes when you've been told, and you got guys like us, you got guys like Charles Barkley, his Skip Bayless, his rappers, his politicians. Everybody probably want to get in contact with him. There's probably a lot of requests that he gets, and sometimes you just want to.
But Lil Wayne?
Sometimes, look, here's the thing. Sometimes you just black out and say, listen, I don't want to talk about it right now.
Okay, that's fair. An update for you, and I've misremembered this.
Yeah, so I have it from Bleacher Report right here, written by Brian Flynn on January 27th, 2010. Gilbert Arenas was suspended for 1 year.
Yeah. Now,
was it indefinite and he didn't play for a year? Or was he suspended?
I don't know.
I'd
like to call up his career stats and see what happens. See, what chunk of games he missed. Here's the thing, guys. So that's your standard right there.
Yeah.
Now the difference was there was some beef going on, and he brought it into the workplace.
Yeah.
However, I'm gonna say something that I'm not probably qualified to say because I don't know. I haven't lived in that lifestyle. But G. Bush, I want your reaction to this because you're far closer and in tune with the culture than I am. I don't know. Mm-hmm. The NBA had an opportunity here to take a major stance against, I don't even want to say gun crimes because I don't know that necessarily qualified as a crime where he was in possession and brandishing a gun. By the way, didn't he allege that it was a fake gun?
Yeah, the NBA said they've had nothing to corroborate that.
Well,
so.
let's go through the machinations of that story.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out with my boys, and I'm going to, in my waistband, I'm going to put a fake pistol.
No, that's not it.
Okay, so we can all kind of pretty much just dismiss that. So that is what it is. But, gee, we have rising gun violence in every major city in the United States. Mm-hmm. Here in Cleveland, carjackings with the use of a gun are up 85%. Mm-hmm. Violent crime with the use of a gun, double-digit increases. And by the way, we're talking about year over year, where last year was a record, and 2021 was a record, and 2020 was a record. It's going the wrong way. We had yesterday a story on Channel 3 where Edwin's Restaurant, Edwin's is a very interesting concept. The owner of the restaurant, it's fine French cuisine. The owner of the restaurant staffs the entire restaurant with former cons.
That's awesome.
He's basically giving them a second chance at life.
That's awesome.
This model should be duplicated in every major city in America. And by the way, you won't find a better meal. 5-star, high cuisine. What he does is he gives these convicts, after they've been released, a second chance. He puts them through his culinary school. Mm-hmm. He houses them. He helps get them back on their feet. He gives them high-paying jobs where they can, if they want to stay there and work there, they can. But if they want to go somewhere else, they can do that too. He yesterday announced a program in the city of Cleveland where he's going to buy back guns for $250, irrespective of the condition or whatever. He's doing it to get guns off the street. Now, he hopes to get 5 sponsors corporate-wide that will help him pay for these guns. He expects to get as many as 100 to 250 weapons off the street. I don't know what that number is going to be. It might be far greater because we've been publicizing it quite a bit. But the idea here is we have small people in our community that are trying to make a big difference in a gun violence crime that we can't seem to solve. We talk about doing things, we do nothing. The NRA is one of the biggest lobbying organizations in the United States. We can't pass legislation because too many of our lawmakers are connected at the hip with the NRA. So here the NBA has a chance to make a huge social statement. And the NBA has said in the past, we're about social statements. We're about making our community better, safer. Here is one of the faces of its league committing a second gun infraction on tape for the whole world to see, and he gets less by a quarter almost, easily, well, by a third almost, more than a third, than was given 14 years ago to Gilbert Arenas for bringing a gun to work.
So, by the way, Anthony got my ear. Gilbert had already played 32 games that year, so he missed 50.
So he's suspended for the rest of the year.
The rest of the season. The article headline was a little misleading. Bad job out of me, but I went and looked at the games. He
because I didn't remember it being the full season.
Was suspended for the rest.
Okay, so that's a 50-game suspension. I would have been okay with a 41-game suspension in this case.
I actually think in the totality, looking big picture, 25 games is the perfect number.
You do?
I
Why?
do. He didn't break a law. And we could look at him and say, he shouldn't be brandishing a gun. He's a role model. And G said this perfectly when we talked about him last time. For better or worse, athletes are role models that people look up to. Sometimes they don't choose it, but that's the reality of the position of the power they're in. However you feel on guns, pro-gun, anti-gun, I don't care. It's not illegal for him to have a gun in a car. He was with his friends. He didn't shoot anybody. He just was stupid and put it on camera. And really, his friend was dumber for knowing, hey, you just got in trouble for having a gun. I'm going to turn my Instagram live camera on you while you're holding it. Like, I wish he didn't have the gun. I wish he didn't brandish it. I wish he didn't show it. I wish he never brought it on the airplane in the first time or the strip club or wherever it was that he got in trouble with the gun. And he has to be smarter with decisions and surrounding him with people who can kind of put a magnifying glass on some of the decisions he's made. But he didn't break a law. And how do you punish a guy for half a season without pay and take away $15, $16 million from his $30 million?
Got 2/3 of a season.
And
didn't break the law.
And I still don't know how I feel about.
And there were no guns involved.
I know, but I don't know how I feel about that suspension without any actual tangible proof that he did.
Well, you can say this:
anything.
If we're going to ask, was the NFL too harsh, too lenient, or just right on Deshaun Watson?
I
think most people would say too harsh.
Yeah, I agree.
If you ask those same fans, was the NBA too harsh, too lenient, or just right? Now I know you say just right, and I respect your opinion, but I think, and G. Bush, you and I agree. I think the vast majority would come down on too lenient.
And real quick, and just the last point on why it's right. So he misses 25 games. So if he plays 100 games, or 100% of the games that he's eligible to play, that's 57.
Yeah.
Based on the new CBA, he's not eligible for first, second, or third team All-NBA, which is where
who cares about that, Mike?
That's money now. That's
he
extra
needs money?
No, I'm just saying, but that's part of why, like, you could have said a little more, a little less. This completely negates him from getting any of the extra incentive bonuses.
Yeah, that means
and
nothing
all that.
to
So
me.
that's extra money that he could have made this year that now he's just completely ineligible
John
for.
Morant doesn't need extra money.
I agree, but I'm just saying that's another downside of him missing that amount.
G. Bush, here's my question to you.
Okay.
What message is sent to the young fan base of the NBA about John Morant flashing guns and what happens to you if you do it? Because before you answer that, I'll give you a quick example. There's a young man who goes to Orange High School in our area, I believe it was Orange, who was arrested because they found a bullet in the school and it ended up being his, and they traced it back to him. Then they went to his car and found a gun in his car. He's facing major charges.
Yeah.
He was obviously expelled from school. He's not John Morant. He doesn't have the protection of being a superstar. He doesn't have all the money in the world to afford any legal defense he wants. He's facing serious jail time. And we have John Morant, who the optics of it are horrible. What is that saying to the young fan base of the NBA? What are 13 and 14-year-old young NBA fans saying this morning about Ja Morant?
So I go back to two things. And I'll give you my personal experience. My mother and father, I've been married for 41 years. They're Christians. They don't. We weren't wild watching certain things. As a matter of fact, I used to think it was crazy because we couldn't even have super soakers. We couldn't have any water pistols. We couldn't.
Really?
No, for real. They're serious. Like we wasn't.
It was a form of a gun, and you weren't having it.
You wasn't allowed touching no guns, right? So where I come from is a household where I grew up in a household where I never needed, like I never saw a place or an environment where I needed a gun. Some people come from places of environments. We take a look at all of our heroes. We take a look at Nipsey Hussle. We take a look at Jam Master Jay. We take a look at Tupac. We look at Biggie. We look at all these young artists. We just saw Migos, Offset for the Migos. Like all of our rappers, right? Our rappers, our civil rights leaders, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. All of our people are gunned down. They're shot. So when you grow up as a black person in this country, some people in the hood always say, it's better I got it on me than not on me. Because I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6, meaning that
I've heard that before.
So if you ain't got it on you, what you doing? And at the point where they don't understand, Ja Morant doesn't understand, like in the city of Cleveland, or city of Memphis, Young Dolph just got killed. Young Dolph just got killed outside of a place where he just was getting cookies. 3 gunmen came and shot him, right? When you are living in the city of Memphis and you look like them, you act like them, and you are around certain people, the reality of this situation is sometimes if you're around certain people, you need a gun.
Well, there are other players in Memphis that don't need guns.
So here we
don't carry guns.
Here's what
is it the circle he's in
that
forces him to carry?
So if you got your circle of people around you, and those circle of individual people are in the streets, technically you're in the streets.
You're with them.
Because even if you don't do the same things they do, you ain't at the same places, at the same time, you got to understand you with them. And on top of that, you are a target.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
You are the U.S. Bank. You are Huntington National Bank.
We had Greg Newsom on the show this week say he felt in these carjackings when he wasn't held at gunpoint, but they targeted him because of who he was.
Sure, absolutely, and that's Greg Newsom.
And Ja Morant has a lot more money than Greg Newsom.
But I want to get to
he does.
I want to get to the crux of the situation. Your question is, what does it say? I've said on this show before, in America, we have a problem with guns. Across the bow, we have a problem with our infatuation of guns. To me, I look at it as a symptom. Ja Morant is a symptom. Ja Morant is a symptom of the problem of how we put these guns on pedestals. We put the guns before people. Then you tell people, well, we can't stop school shootings. I remember the first, Jay, you remember this, when Columbine happened, right?
Yeah.
The world stopped.
It was appalling. We couldn't believe it.
Could not. Now
they're common.
It's every 30 seconds, and we go right on to our next thing.
Yeah.
30 seconds. And on to the NBA Finals, because it's happening. That's how rampant it's become. And I must say this: Ja Morant, he got the 25 games. We don't know what's going to go on behind closed scenes, but one thing that I will say is, if you got your NBA players, if you got people in schools that kids are scared to go to school because they think they're going to die like their friends, and you got people that can help this, you got people that can stop it, that are taking pictures with AR-15s and as Christmas pictures. Christmas pictures, they are taking the people who are standing up saying thoughts and prayers are in the Christmas pictures with their kids, 1 through 5 with the guns. You got guys in office doing that.
Preach.
What type of stuff is this, man? What type? And they do it and they think it's funny. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, liberal, or whatever you call yourself. You know we have a problem in this country. That's the equivalent of knowing that we have a fentanyl problem in this country, and you taking a needle and acting like you shooting up.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's disrespectful, man. And then people do that for clout And it trickles down. And then Ja Morant says, well, if they did it, I think it'd be good for me.
I want to be clear, too. I am not at the root of this discussion, Ja Morant is a young man who needs some guidance right now.
Yep.
The lifestyle he's living is the lifestyle he now chooses to live. He doesn't have to live that lifestyle anymore.
He don't have to use that. He
In
don't
fact,
have to do that.
There's a famous line in the movie Good Will Hunting. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's one of the most moving scenes in the movie was when Ben Affleck was talking with Matt Damon. Matt Damon had these unbelievable mathematical genius powers, but he didn't want to use them because he wanted to stay in the hood in South Boston and live that life. And Ben Affleck was having a conversation with them outside their construction job. They were having a smoke break. And he said, let me tell you something. Because Matt Damon's character basically says, Good Will Hunting. Will says, hey, 20 years from now, I picture us running around the backyard with our kids, taking them to Little League games. And Ben Affleck stops for a second. He says, wait a minute. If you're still here 20 years from now, I'm going to whip your ass.
Yeah.
And
Great
Will's
team.
like, what are you talking about? And he said, bro, you're sitting on a winning lottery ticket. You've hit life's lottery. If you stay here, that's an insult to me because I would give everything I own and years off my life to have what you have. It's a gift. And if you waste it by hanging out with us thugs, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
And the message in that kind of applies here.
Yep.
He needs someone in his crew that loves him, not for his money, but for who he is, to tell him, Ja, you're going to piss all of this away, bro. You're going to piss all of this away. You've been given a gift, and it's fleeting. In Matt's case, he would still have his mathematical genius powers at 60. Ja Morant won't be able to jump, shoot, and run at 40. There's a limited window, and someone needs to get to this young man and tell him, turn your life around. You don't need us anymore. Get the hell out of here. We don't want to see you again except for on Christmas cards and family gatherings. Take your guns, get rid of them. Live the life that God has intended you to live. He gave you a gift. Don't screw it up. And that's what he needs. And Lil Wayne and Jalen Rose and other people that have been in that situation who have taken their gifts and capitalized on them and used them to not just better themselves, but to better society, they're trying to get through to him.
Lil Wayne shot himself. Lil Wayne shot
Yes, he did.
Shot himself and flatlined.
Yes.
And the cop.
And should have died.
And the cop, a white cop, by the way, we shouldn't have to deliberate that, but in the hood, they told Lil Wayne he's gone.
Yes.
He's out of here. The cop said no. He grabbed him, put him in his car, drove him to the hospital, and he says, without that cop,
he's dead.
He's dead. So he has a story for him to listen to, right? And Lil Wayne, after a while, even Lil Wayne went through a situation where he had a gun and he had to go to Rikers.
After this. After this.
So for a whole year, at the height of his career, had to go to Rikers. So sometimes it's just one of them things where somebody could tell you, sometimes you got to sit down.
Right.
Sometimes you got to sit down for you to get that.
That's a powerful story. And so this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying he needs 41 games because I don't like Ja Morant. I love Ja Morant. I think Ja Morant is a generational talent.
Yeah.
I think Ja Morant could be a top 3 player in this league for the next 10 years. The only thing that stands in the way from that and what could become a tragedy is Ja Morant. What road do you want to travel? You're at a fork. You can go left or you can go right. But this is life-changing. This is a very big moment. And here's why I'm disappointed in the league. He hasn't reached that point by being punished once already. He hasn't reached that point. A lot of people that have been through any kind of turmoil like this, that either need an interdiction or they need some sort of reckoning, oftentimes it's called rock bottom.
Yeah.
What is rock bottom going to be? One of his boys gets shot and killed? Maybe he shoots and kills someone? Maybe he gets shot and killed. We don't want it to come to that. The league had an opportunity to be your parents and to say to Ja Morant, we love you so much, we're going to give you tough love.
I think the difference between the NFL and the NBA is the NBA has less control over
the player.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The
You're
NFL.
absolutely right.
And it's difficult to suspend a guy where you have LeBron James saying, "Oh, we ain't gonna see LeBron or whoever's there, Chris Paul, or these are big
players.
the
That
players.
would be the equivalent of your siblings lobbying to your parents about how they're going to discipline you. At the end of the day, it is the National Basketball Association, and that logo, that shield, is bigger than all of the players collectively because that's the shield that's represented the players for over 50 years.
I will agree with that in the NFL side. The NBA side, it's not like your parents. It's like they are they're friends. Like you ever see somebody's kids and they act like they're their friends. They call them by the name. Nancy, I'm not going to my room, Nancy.
No, I can't stand that. I can't stand
John,
that. Like we're equals.
Like they're equals.
Yeah.
So when you have this, I guarantee they probably had to go and fight for that.
You're
25.
probably right. And look, there's probably things that I don't know about that go on behind the scenes. I'll wrap it up by saying this. Here's my absolute bottom line hope. My hope is Ja Morant gets the message loud and clear, and he realizes I can't keep this lifestyle going. I'm making $35 million a year. What was his last year's salary? What was his salary? $40 million?
He just signed the giant extension.
I know.
So.
He's got all the money in the world. Money is no longer an issue. He doesn't need to be out in the streets. He doesn't need to hustle. He doesn't need to hang with guys that are carrying guns. He doesn't need that lifestyle. You don't see LeBron doing it.
He needs. I'll give him my final say on it. Like I told Greg Newsom. At the end of the day, a lot of people don't be wanting security because they want to say I could go to anywhere without security. A lot of people don't. I got it on me. I'm cool. I got my people with me. No. It's a different age out here. Inflation is crazy. People ain't got no money. You're a target, bro. If you want to go someplace, hire you some professional security.
Be careful the places you go.
And you got to watch where you go. But anywhere you go, as you get older,
he's a target.
You are a target.
Yeah.
$250 million. Get you some people.
I hope future headlines of Ja Morant read like this: Ja Morant, a force in his community. Ja Morant gives back to his community by helping youth avoid pitfalls in the future. Ja Morant wins NBA championship. Ja Morant, NBA MVP. Yeah. I hope they look like that and not what I told you before. Ja Morant involved in tragic shooting.
It could happen.
Ja Morant found in possession of illegal guns looking at 5 to 7 years in prison. I don't want that. And I think the league had a chance to be the parent here and to send a loud and clear message that you can't have both lifestyles. He can't. He can't have the street lifestyle and he can't have the NBA lifestyle. It's time for him to choose. And you said something very prophetic earlier. Players, whether they choose to be role models or not, let me tell you something. When I love Charles Barkley, both personally and his public persona.
He said he's not a role model.
He said he is. But just because you say you're not a role model doesn't mean you're not. Role models are tapped on the shoulder. Society decides who a role model is. And whether Ja Morant likes it or not, there are tens of thousands of 13-year-old boys in this country that look to Ja Morant as what they want to become. He is a role model, whether he wants to be or not. That's a cop-out. I've always thought that was a cop-out by Charles Barkley.
I mean, he is a role model, but that's a responsibility that
comes with a $50 million paycheck in the NBA.
It comes with it, but I just think it's unfair to hold everyone to a certain standard.
I don't.
Every person is their own individual.
You're a role model.
I know, and I
hope you conduct yourself as such. You always have.
Yeah, I mean, I try to.
Right.
And I'm sure Ja, and I know we have to move on in a sec, but the whole thing with Ja, at the end of the day is, we all hope, you said it, G said it, that hopefully this 25-game suspension, whatever program he goes message received, puts him back on the track. The 8-game suspension for the first time obviously did not ring home. It did not. It wasn't enough. 25 games, I don't know what the financial stipulation, he's not getting paid, so that he's making 40-something million this year, 25, so it's at least $15 million plus.
He won't miss it.
I understand, but at the end of the day, $15 million is still $15 million. Yeah. So I hope this puts him back on the right track. I hope he takes
I did too, Mike.
A lesson learned, and he's a new father. His daughter is 1.5, 2. She was part of his shoe release commercial.
And guess what? He's a role model for her.
And for, if nothing else, that's what I hope he gets his life back on track.
It can happen. I know a guy. Yeah. You know a guy.
We all know.
Maurice Claret.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Come on now. He was in the back. He had the automatic rifles with
he
the
went
cops
to prison
on him.
for guns.
3-year prison.
I know a lot of people have reached out to Ja. I get that. I understand that. But just remember this. Maurice Clarett, as a freshman, almost won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
After he won the national championship, he never played another down in college. He never played a single snap in the NFL. And
I didn't realize that. You're right, though.
He never did.
Yeah.
That was
I
it.
didn't realize
when
that.
we saw him on the field against Miami holding up the national trophy,
That's the last.
That's the
that
highest
was
he
the
was.
last. Now, he did play in
the Canadian Football League for
he
the
played in some
Alouettes.
off leagues.
Yeah.
That's not what he was bred to do. He was meant from birth to be a football star, a dominant football star.
I did not realize.
And he derailed his career.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this because I've been friends with Maurice for 15 years. I'm not. Of the role models that I know, of the people that I know that I think Ja Morant can be most helped from,
right up there.
Maurice Clarett is the guy.
And if you
He's the guy.
And if you say this to Maurice Clarett, and they will put a bow on it, sometimes you learn by learning from other people. Sometimes you learn by you getting in trouble. Sometimes you learn by sitting here and watching other cats, and sometimes you learn by paying the ultimate price. Maurice Clarett says all the time, going to sit in jail for 2-3 years saved my life.
Yeah.
He says it all the time. Sitting down for 2-3 years, making me think about what I was doing and how I'm more than just a football player, and how, because what happens is when you're in that jail cell and you away from your girl, you away from your mom, you get a lot of time to think about what the heck you doing in your life. And guess what? We hope Ja Morant gets it for at least 25, because I don't want you to pay the 25 to
I don't
life.
either. I don't want to see him
life.
pay any other price
There you go.
than missed games.
Yep.
And what scares me about this is, if we picked up a paper tomorrow and see Ja Morant arrested for gun use, or Ja Morant wanted in questioning for a shooting, or Ja Morant associate gunned down and killed, are any of us going to look at them and say, oh my God, I can't believe it? This is stunning news. No. Why? That's the trajectory he's on. Maurice Clarett has done something I think it's the hardest thing in the world to do. He's written a successful second chapter without leaning on the success of his first chapter.
Yeah.
He leaned on his failure. And for someone to become a millionaire, post-prison, post-career collapse, and do it the way he's done it, you do that through hard work and through, a lot of personal inspection and going through those things. I hope to God that Ja gets the help he wants. Here's the problem. If you ask Ja Morant, will you talk to Maurice Clarett? You might as well ask him, will you talk to Hopalong Cassidy? He doesn't know who Maurice Clarett is. Maurice Clarett was a football star 20 years ago in another life.
Ja was born in 2000.
The Buckeyes won the national championship in 2001.
I think 2000.
Yeah. So
He's
Ja
only
Morant,
3 years younger than me.
Ja Morant was 1 year old when Maurice Clarett was last relevant.
He was
as
born
a
in
pro
99,
athlete.
my bad. 99,
Okay, so he was 2 years old when Maurice Clarett was a commodity in sports.
Well said. We love Mo. We got to get Mo back on.
You know what? I think it'd be great to get Mo back on to talk specifically about this.
I'll shoot him a text.
Because I do think that, I don't know, maybe Maurice can reach out to him. Maybe Maurice can reach out to the NBA and say, look, I do this kind of thing. I can sit down with him, tell him my story, tell him to watch the 30 for 30 on Maurice Clarett.
Yeah.
And then Maurice is going to fly to Memphis, and he's going to sit down in a room with Ja Morant for 3 hours. The Maurice Clarett I know will get through to him. But we've seen a lot of other people that have lived the mistakes and had a hard life, and that they haven't completely been able to. Some people you can't get through to them. All right.
I think I hear Herbie yelling in the parking lot.
Yeah, Herbie's yelling in the parking lot.
Which probably means we got to go to our next topic here.
Yeah,
so I don't know what
we do.
I don't know what Herbie's yelling at. But.
Yeah, I know. I just want to make sure someone didn't breach the garage system. That yell is usually a yell that Herbie reserves for. Oh no, he's just. Okay, never mind.
Well,
So we're going to move on here, guys, and start talking about our Cleveland owners. But real quick, we do have some more breaking news that broke a little bit before Ja. Michael Jordan is selling the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah.
What took him so long? This is my first immediate
I have no
reaction
idea.
to that. I just talked about piloting a second chapter in life and being as successful or more successful in your second chapter than you were in your first. Michael never figured out how to be a good general manager. He never figured out how to be a good owner. The Hornets have been largely irrelevant for his entire tenure.
One playoff series win.
One playoff series win in how many years?
13.
Okay, so it's a terrible record. I had someone tell me once who was friends with Michael that I didn't really know that well. I was surprised that he divulged that information to me, although he said it was off the record. But, I mean, since it's been written about. What was said about that was Michael's drive to compete is, obviously we all know what it is. He's got to be, that's why he golfs. But a mutual acquaintance of ours told me the work that is involved in becoming not a good owner, but a great owner, and we're going to talk about sports ownership here in just a second, is more than Michael is willing to put in. And that was interesting to me because I always thought Michael would be motivated by, I'm all about winning, whatever I have to do to win. But you're also talking about a guy who's sitting on $1 billion, loves to golf, loves to gamble, loves to hang out with his buddies. And that's not probably the lifestyle that Stan Kroenke's living. I don't know. Maybe he is.
You know, to me, I look at it like this. You know, when you are an icon like Michael Jordan and you've done it at the highest level, and you're a cultural icon, so I base how popular you are by not what we do in the United States. It's by go to some third world country in Southeast Asia and see if they know who you are.
Right.
If they know who you are,
you're famous.
You famous as hell. So for Michael Jordan is the epitome of what famous is. Jordan can't go nowhere. He's really that famous. His shoes sell out. People have not even watched Michael Jordan ever play. They just know the coolest thing you need to have is the Jordan. And they could be 1, 2, 3 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. I think what happened with Michael Jordan is the same thing that happened with Larry Bird to a certain extent. And you could say Magic too. They would like to be minority owners, but they can't be that close to the action and not see excellence. If I'm close to you and I'm looking at these guys I'm drafting and you get them in and you look at him like, man, this guy he don't put no work in. I gotta give him $1 million. He said something, I was on the internet, he said, these guys, me, Magic, and Larry, earned everything we got. We had to prove before Magic got the first $1 million deal. He's like, we had to prove what we was about. Jordan never even earned the most money. He got his biggest paydays, 33 and 35 million his last 2 years in Chicago. Right. Before that, no big paydays. Yep. So when you see that, what actually happens is you turn into a grumpy guy. You start to look at it and you start to be like, oh, well, these dudes need to get off my lawn, including the guys that I'm paying.
You know, that's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great. When Magic Johnson had a brief stint trying to coach the LA Lakers, I'll never forget. It was very short, 10 games, something like that. The team was terrible. I remember when he did an interview post that, and he said, "Man, I'm just not about that. These guys are on their phones." Now this was years ago. This was before everybody really started being on their phone. He said, all these players, the most important thing in their life is their phone. I can't do that. I can't handle that. I don't understand it. And the other thing is, there's a theory in sports that great players make horrible coaches. And part of that is Ted Williams famously tried to be a hitting coach. It comes so easy and naturally to Bird, Magic, and Jordan. Not to say they didn't work hard at their craft. They all did. But they all had a natural gift and a skill set to be great. So when they look at these guys that are mortal, they just shake their heads and they're like, man, these guys suck. These guys don't get it. And they get frustrated and they walk away. Larry Bird did have some success.
He did.
As a coach and as an executive.
There have been some examples, but historically speaking, it's very hard to go from player to coach and even coach to executive sometimes.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time thinking about this question last night.
Jerry West did it.
It's happened. Yeah, it's happened. And Jerry West is still one of the best executives in the NBA right now. So there are examples, but I would say the majority of these player into other roles, it's much harder for what you just said. But I thought a lot about this question last night. And I dialed it down to 3 things I think that make a great owner. There's a lot of things, but these are the 3 biggest. 1, willingness to spend money when needed. 2, the ability to hire the right person for the job at the right time. And 3, luck. And I think luck is massively underrated in all of this. We talk about Stan Kroenke. We use him as the example. He's won 5 championships since 1999. 2 with the Rams, 2 with the Avalanche, and then with the Nuggets here. And he's got a couple other in some smaller sports. The Rams.
He's won 5 since the start of 2022.
Well, if you count like professional lacrosse and all that.
Pro lacrosse and esports. But I'll tell you, I don't raise my eyes at that because
esports count.
Esports fastest growing sports sector in the world.
Sure, but it's not like he's day-to-day helping that, but he hired the right people, which goes back to what I said.
You left one out, but go ahead. But because I love the 3 that you had, and I didn't have Luck in there, but you're right. You do need Luck.
Let me tell you why Luck is. The Rams for the 2023, so he's owned the Rams since '95.
Yeah.
They've been a partner, so that's almost 30 years.
Yep.
They've had a top 2 pick 3 times. They took Sam Bradford, #1 overall. Didn't work.
No.
They took Jared Goff, #1 overall. Didn't work. They took Jason Smith, who was out of the league, the left tackle from Baylor, in 4 years.
Wow.
That means they were bad much more frequently than they've been good. How did they win the Super Bowl? They hired Sean McVay. Turned out to be a home run hired head coach.
Yep.
They paid the tax. 2 first-rounders from Matt Stafford. They brought in Von Miller midseason. They brought in OBJ midseason. And then they got Luck. Tampa Bay cover 0 in the NFC Championship game to let Cooper Kupp down the middle.
Yeah.
Are we going to really give Stan Kroenke credit for Denver when they drafted Jokic in the 2nd round? Like,
No.
he's part of it, but that's luck.
Luck.
The Avalanche, their best player, Nathan McKinnon, 1st overall pick. They were terrible. They happened to get a generational talent with the 1st pick the year that they were the worst team in the league.
Right.
So we could look at all the things owners do.
Sure.
Spending money is a must. You have to be able to identify and hire the right people in the right positions, and then a lot of it comes down to luck.
Yeah.
Every team in the league passed up on Jokic. Every team in the league. He's now the undisputed best player in basketball. McVay had chances to be a head coach before. I know Los Angeles was the first. Kroenke identified him as the guy he wanted to bring in, hired him. And with Malone in Denver, he hired Malone. He gave Malone time. They spent extra money. They've gone over the luxury tax a little bit, just a tad bit. But when they needed to for a guy like Aaron Gordon, they gave Michael Porter Jr. the extension. Yeah. They went out and signed Bruce Brown. And a lot of it comes down to luck, though. A lot of things have to break right to win a championship.
So is that your order, though? Money first, luck is the 3rd?
Luck is 3rd, in my opinion.
Yes. I look at it, I like all 3 of those things. I'm for myself, I don't know if I could be a good owner because I'm too passionate. And I think you have to have a vision for what what your organization to be. And that vision has to revolve in 5 to 10 year increments, right? Some moves that you make today aren't going to pay off until 3, 4, 5 years down the line. For me, I look at my mortality all the time. I know I ain't got no time to be setting nothing up. I want to win today. Yeah. And I think one of the things that you really have to, I think the biggest thing is being flexible, adaptable. Mm-hmm. Certain people have a concept of what they live by. They say a culture or something. You just mentioned it. You know, in those moves, sometimes they went over the luxury tax. Sometimes they didn't. Yeah. Sometimes they traded big names. Sometimes they traded those names for small people. Yep. Sometimes they went and got a coach that was unknown. Sometimes they went and got a coach that had a big name.
They went from Jeff Fisher to Sean McVay.
Right.
Mr. 500 with 1,000 different NFL seasons to McVay.
The flexibility is what keeps you able to read the market today. And and a lot of the owners, I appreciate the people that understand not only what was, but is yet to come. Mm-hmm. I like to see people that have that. There's guys in business that knew the typewriter was going to be out, but they invested in keyboards.
Right.
They knew that, hey, stoves, ain't nobody selling no big gas stoves door to door now. They said microwaves is coming in. I love owners that understand what the new wave is, and they're always about 6 months ahead of everybody, because that's
right.
All of them are
the league's a copycat league.
Yeah. 6
So
months.
if you're not blazing a trail, you're following someone else.
Yeah.
Precisely.
And so that's why we see the Browns and we see some of our, we talk about it. There's a lot of way to win games, but we've criticized our owners because we followed behind old ways that other people use. I think Bill Belichick in his success has got more coaches fired than anybody I've ever seen in my life, because they want to be Bill. You can't be Bill.
Yep.
Right.
You can't, like,
He's
that's
got more
him.
coaches hired and more
fired.
coaches fired
Yep.
than anybody in the history of the sport.
There has not been a Belichick disciple that has really had his own. Now, Bill O'Brien had a little bit of success in Houston, but I don't think anyone looked at Bill O'Brien.
I don't even measure that as success.
And he had to come on home.
Games.
He had to come on home. Like, Josh McDaniels had to come back.
Josh McDaniel had to come back home.
Patricia.
Bill O'Brien came back home. Patricia
came back and got fired again.
Romeo Crennel tried to go out on his own. Who was the heavyset coach?
Weiss.
No, Charlie Weiss.
Charlie Weiss.
They
Yeah.
thought he was.
I mean, he was just living off the association with Bill Belichick. You got 3 of the 4 right. Here was my order because I also had 3. Number 1, have a huge checkbook.
Yep.
Huge. If you're scrambling to see, are we going to make payroll this month?
Yeah.
The Guardians right
Obviously an
now
issue.
are looking at missing Bally's check for July 1st. Bally's next installment is due July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
They just made a payment to several of their franchises. I believe the Diamondbacks was one of them. We know that they're bankrupt. The Guardians are in a real tricky situation, which is why I believe Dolan took on a minority owner. I don't know that our owner is flush enough to just start covering huge losses like the one that they're going to miss from Bally's Sports. If that's the thing Dolan's missing, the checkbook. Mm-hmm. He's got the other things, and here are the other things. Have the money. Be willing to spend the money smartly.
Are those 2 separate ones?
Yes.
Okay.
And number 3, and this is the one that you left out, get the hell out of the way. So number 2, you asked, is that the second one, be willing to spend the money. I incorporate that with, I said smartly. Go out and find the cutting edge, top of the line executives. Dolan's done that. Antonetti, the Guardians are the envy of 29 other Major League Baseball teams, maybe 28, because I think the Rays, which are using the Guardians model, are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They smartly identify young, bright, Ivy League educated minds who get baseball.
Do you think it is possible for a hands-on owner to be highly successful in
Name
sports?
one that has.
I mean, Cuban won a title.
Cuban's won 1 title in 20 years.
It's a title.
His counterpart in Dallas, Jerry Jones.
What
Jerry
about-
Jones
Yeah.
put his foot in it.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones fired Tom Landry. Jerry Jones fired Jimmy Johnson. Jerry Jones fired Barry Switzer. What have they won since the Herschel Walker trade put them in position to be dominant for a decade?
What about Krause and Reinsdorf?
I don't consider, okay, so one's different than the other. When Krause was meddling, it was a different time in sports. Player movement wasn't as easy as it is today. You know, back in the day, players moved when their contracts were up, and only when they were up, or at the whim of their team. Today, if a player's unhappy in a situation, he can work his way out of an NBA city. Yeah. We've seen it a million times.
We're going to talk about it in
The
1
players
second.
have the power today.
Yeah.
So George Steinbrenner won, and a lot of people will say, well, Steinbrenner is a great example.
Yeah.
How many world championships did George Steinbrenner win in his 40-year tenure?
When did he leave? I mean, they won
4?
4 in the 90s.
How many did he win?
At least,
Google it.
At least 4.
He had the greatest reliever in baseball. He had the cheat code at reliever in baseball. He had the generational shortstop, the generational third baseman, countless Cy Young Award-winning pitchers. For the money he spent and the teams that he built, he should have had 10. He was his own worst enemy. When in the 70s, when Billy Martin was looked at as the most fiery manager in baseball, he fired and hired him 3 times. He kept firing him and bringing him back because, to your point, he was too passionate. You have to wash your passion out of being an owner.
He got seven World Series.
In
40-something years?
Okay, that's not the greatest track record in the world.
But that's 7,
I mean,
though.
7.
He
That's
had
7.
he had the highest payroll every year.
That's still, I mean, listen.
That's your number one. That's your one thing. You gotta have the bag.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
yeah.
number one. You gotta have it. If you don't
But-
got it, you can't get it.
You have to know when to get out of the way, and George didn't. Jerry Jones doesn't. Jerry Jones.
To
how
your
many
point-
playoff games have the Cowboys won in the last 20 years?
0.
Same as the Browns.
Or
no,
they've won.
Yeah, one.
One.
They've each won 1 playoff game.
To your point, and I do think you're right, in a perfect world, I'd rather not have my owner meddle than meddle. But to G's point, I think there's not one blueprint that fits every team in every sport that is the copy and paste, we're going to win champion. I think every organization is different.
Right.
To where there might be an organization, like I think the Patriots, for example, where I don't think Robert Kraft's meddling with Bill Belichick on day-to-day basis things, but that whole Brady situation kind of came down to Brady being Kraft's guy, Belichick wanted to move on. Like, there is some crossover.
Yeah, so what you're right, but what stuns me about that is that it took so long.
I agree. So I'm just saying there's not one.
Inarguably the best coach and the best quarterback for 15 years. The fact that they survived that long in today's sports
is unbelievable.
And that is a testament to Robert Kraft.
And the climate is like that. Like, you could take a look at it. It's the same thing with the Spurs. I mean, are the Spurs that great of an organization, or did they just get Tim Duncan? Or did they just slip up and find Kawhi Leonard? Or did Tony Parker be good? Or Ginobili?
It's called luck. You have the first pick in a draft with a generational guy.
I know, but you still have to give them some credit.
Yeah,
all the other teams in the NBA passed on Tony Parker.
They took him.
They didn't. Where there was luck was they were able to get the number 1 pick. So they had David Robinson and Tim Duncan at the same time. You damn well better be dynastic.
Yeah.
You better be.
And that's why it's a combination of all three. I think,
so luck is a big part of it. You're right.
And like their first overall picks that are Tim Duncan, their first overall picks that are Anthony Bennett. It's luck of the draw which year you happen to
So
sell.
I think we've identified the 4 traits. You need money. You need to be able to spend the money on the right people, and you have to get lucky. Okay, let's look at the Cleveland sports owners. I mentioned Dolan.
Yep, I got my notes on all 3. I'm ready.
He has hired the right people.
Yep,
he does get the hell out of the way. To the media's disdain, we never get access to him. I interviewed him 2 years ago. I don't know that he's done a one-on-one since. He doesn't. He lets Antonetti be the face of the organization. What he lacks is the money. He doesn't. If he had Kroenke, and by the way, we talked about Kroenke, it'd be irresponsible to bring something up about him. He's had success. He had to pay the city of St. Louis $790 million for stealing their team.
Yeah. I mean,
he lost. And by the way,
he's hated.
The other owners in the NFL, the other 31, had to pay about $250 million of that money, which means the Browns had to pay about $8 million, and the Lions had to pay $8 million, and the Cowboys paid $8 million for Stan Kroenke stealing the St. Louis Rams and putting them in Los Angeles.
He's as rich as it gets.
He doesn't care about money.
He's as rich as it gets.
You know who is really, really rich but does a really great job of giving back? It's Matthew Collick and the Collick Championships companies.
That's a transition.
I have to do a read now, don't I?
That's a transition.
Right here it is.
Before we continue on with this topic, I do want to remind everybody that is the lunch hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and you can see your favorite golf legends play in the Colleague Companies Championship July 12th through July 16th at the famous Firestone Country Club. Fun, family-friendly events all week long featuring a new fan zone experience, free attendance for kids, and concerts every single night. There's something for everyone. Learn more at colleaguegolf.com.
It was a great transition. In time, I don't think you can name any investment that has a better return on it than being a pro sports owner.
Nope.
Now, the barrier to entry is you need a couple $2 billion.
All top.
But when you look at teams who 10 years ago sold for $400 million, but 3 months ago sold for $6 billion, and that's not the exception, that's the rule. Every one of these franchises that were purchased in the hundreds of millions are worth in the billions today. Guardians among them. But if you're not independently wealthy, that's a mirage of money.
I want to ask this question, and I've always thought, so say for instance, you can get a valuation just like, your house, right? You can go they say, how much is my house worth? Then you can say, okay, well, my house is worth this. Let me get a loan based on the value of my house, right? So when you look at smaller baseball teams, right, I've always thought, like, okay, I bought it for how much, right? I think the Guardians got bought for, like, what?
A couple $100 million.
300 million, yeah.
They're over $1 billion now, about 1.3, $1
billion and a half.
Billion,
I think we talked about this a month or two.
I think 1.3.
So your return on investment, $700 that's crazy. $800 million you're gonna get.
Almost $1 billion.
$1 billion. Now, can't you go to a bank and say, look, this is why I'm worth $1 billion?
I'm sure you can.
But a good financial person does not want to pay the interest on that money.
So in other words, if you borrow $100, and I'm not sure, I don't know, I'm speaking way out of turn here. I'm guessing that maybe there was a loan taken during COVID. Because remember, one of the revenue streams was completely gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There was no attendance.
Yeah.
So all of the owners have a rainy day fund. Nobody in 2018 said, there could be a worldwide pandemic coming, but all of the owners prepare for a myriad of things. A work stoppage. Mm-hmm. How do we keep our other employees employed? How do we keep the ship moving if the players say we're not playing games until we get a better deal? So they all have this emergency slush fund. The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Cubs, the major market cities probably have a much bigger emergency fund than the Reds, the Royals, the Tigers, and the Guardians, and the Pirates. I'm sure he had to write checks out of his own personal wealth. Just by what I see and how they spend money, he's very, very frugal. And he's been successful doing that. Mm-hmm. So he's a smart guy. He's built this empire. So he's saying, I'm doing pretty well here. My investment of $300 million is now worth $1.3 billion. I'm doing something right.
And I'd like to keep that.
And I'd like to keep that wealth. Yeah. So if I borrow $100 million to buy Zunino and Bell, and they fall completely on their face, I'm not paying back just $100 million. I'm paying back 100. At today's interest rates, I'm paying back $130 million. Yeah. I don't know how long these loans are taken for and what their interest rates are on them. So I think with him, he's saying, I've got a tried and true method. I've got the best manager in the game. I've got the best general manager in the game. I don't need the best roster in the game, and I've proven that because I'm consistently a playoff team. And because I played, and another thing, you play in one of the worst divisions. You're in the AL Central, where today you're 2.5 out. So let's run down the list. Money, no. Willing to spend, no. Does he meddle? No. Have they been lucky? Well, he's hired the great. He's hired the best staff. I went through I gave him no, and yes on luck. I think he has been lucky. He has been lucky. And he's hired the right people. But he hired Francona. He's hired he's hired Antonetti. And more importantly, this is where I give Dolan the most credit. You don't think that Tito and Antonetti have had offers that are far superior? Yep. And he must be taking care of them. Now, you don't have to divulge how much you're paying coaches and general managers. Yeah, but guess what? But the fact that they're not in Toronto or Boston, that speaks volumes. So he found the right people, and he's kept the right people. He's insulated because Tito has so much cachet that he can speak on things above where he even talk about. Like, he's almost a de facto general manager, assistant GM, marketing guy. But he always pays reverence and respect to the guys above him. And they lockstep. They right by each other, right? It's a good management team. And so by far the best management team in local. Have you ever heard them say and have two conflicting messages? No, they're always messaging is always on point. Even when it came down to the very controversial name change. Yeah. Yep. Tito, whether he believed it or not, Tito went in front of those cameras and said, it's time. Yeah. It's time. We've got guys in our clubhouse that I've talked to that are uncomfortable with us being the Indians. Let's change it. Whether he believed that or not, he was in line with Dolan's message. Dan Gilbert, willing to spend? He has the money. He's willing to spend the money. Has he hired the right people? Yes. I agree. And has he been lucky? Yes. I say yes. See, here's my problem. Getting LeBron James in the lottery there is one thing with Dan, like, right? He did the old switcheroony. He had Mike Brown. He got rid of Mike Brown. Yeah. Brought Brown back. He did give Ty Lue the job, and I think Ty Lue is a top 2-3 coach in the league. So. And he did have David Blatt. Okay, now all of that means he meddles. Yeah. Yes. I don't need my owner meddling. I don't need George Steinbrenner firing Billy Martin and hiring 5 times. That's Beeline. He's hired B, like, this not going to work. And horrible hire. And when I say hire, you're never going to hit 1,000 when you're hiring coaches. Like, if your hit rate's 50%, you're probably doing a damn good job at hiring the right people. And I know Ant's got to read, so we got one more real quick. But overall, I think we can all agree Gilbert's done a pretty damn good job as an owner. He brought the only championship to Cleveland. Yeah. I rate the owners in town. Dolan first, Gilbert second, Haslam third. I think Dan Gilbert, because he's won, I can't put him no lower than one. Gilbert's one to me, yeah. Because guess what? And he's the only one that's delivered. And he did the unthinkable. Like, how many times do billionaires apologize and kiss and make up? Yep. Yeah. He didn't have to bring back LeBron. After the letter, He buried his pride because he wanted to win a championship.
He did, in my opinion, that 2016 season, he did everything needed to put that team in a position to win a championship.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, the owner's not coaching, he's not playing, he's not making shots, he's not playing defense, he's not calling timeouts, he's not stopping runs.
But
all
everybody that is there because directly
of
or
him,
indirectly because of him.
And his willingness to spend.
So are we all in agreement that the Haslams are clear-cut number 3 here?
Yeah, they've had the most. I mean, they had the most turnover. They can't find a quarterback. They couldn't. They had issues with their own businesses where they had to be like in litigation. I will give the Haslams. Here's one thing I will always give the Haslams credit for. The Haslams have always went out of their way to hire minorities.
Very good minority hiring.
Their minority record is now. Some of the minorities might not have been good coaches or GMs. At the end of the day, we find out. But anybody can do that. But my thought process is I've never had to come on here and be like, the Cleveland Browns don't have any diversity. Yeah. They've done a really good job of doing that. And maybe it just pays off because they were with the Rooneys for so long and they named the rule after him. So,
right.
So I'll give them that. But other than that. Yeah.
To me, I judge everything in sports on wins and losses. That is the end-all, be-all. There's one stat that trumps that, and that's because Dan Gilbert's winning percentage as the Cavs owner without LeBron James is woefully bad.
Yeah.
I believe it's in the 300s.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, obviously, they won the lottery. They got LeBron James. There's some luck involved in that, even though they had the most ping pong balls. We've seen many times where the lottery doesn't go to the team with the most ping pong balls. So I think there's been a lot of luck there with Dan Gilbert. He definitely has the money. He's definitely willing to go into the tax. He pays punitive money in tax overages. So I think that's why I think it's 1 and 1A. Mm-hmm. But I do think that I'm probably not giving him enough credit for winning a title, although I think it should have been more than one. We had LeBron James here for a decade. We have 1 ring. Yeah. Not good enough.
Yeah.
The Guardians are consistently a playoff team and have made it to Game 7 of the World Series a handful of times, once under Dolan. Once they had a 3-1 lead in the World Series. I think they have consistently done the best job. And the Browns, I think it's very easy for me. They've just consistently underperformed. And here's the sad part. This is a Browns town. If we're going to have a great owner, it should be with the Browns.
You know, the cheat code is if the Haslams win, right, what are we going to say?
Congratulations.
Does that make them good owners overnight?
Yes.
They've done something right. So, yes, if they're going to get the blame when they suck and when they lose, they absolutely deserve the bulk of the credit. Look, and this town would love the Haslams if they bring a ring. That's it.
3 things I just said. Willing to spend. They gave Deshaun Watson the most money ever. They've gone out and got Darius Smith.
But I said willing to spend smartly.
But I'm just saying.
I'm not sure that was smart.
I'm saying my 3 things. This is my 3 things. Willing to spend. In my opinion, they've shown they are more than willing to spend. Hire the right people. If they win, it means Stefanski and Barry, home run hires. And luck, it takes a lot of luck to win a Super Bowl.
Man, you aren't kidding. It may take more luck to win a Super Bowl than any other.
So if they win, they catapult way up to me in anything that's happened in the past.
All right, so Jimmy and D, it's simple. You want to be number 1 on the list? Win a title.
Yeah.
That
was 30 minutes for a very simple conclusion.
There you go,
Anthony, what's up?
Yeah, guys, so I reached out and I put a poll in asking who the best owner in Cleveland is from our fans' perspective, and whenever we do that, it's brought to us by PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio, and all locations of PCC Airfoils are in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva, are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus, you can get a great benefit package, paid time off, and signing bonus. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. Everybody is pretty much on board with Gilbert is the best owner with 55% out of 300 votes. Haslam's coming in tied with Dolan at 22%. They were bouncing back and forth.
Hey, they don't like the Dolan's bag, Jay. They mad about that bag.
But listen, I actually
those two were neck and neck.
From a fan perspective, I get it. Seriously,
you get it?
They get to buy stuff with the Haslams and let them go to the store and buy stuff.
It just shows the blind loyalty that this city has in its Browns fan base.
No.
The Browns don't deserve this fan base. They don't.
Yeah, that's.
I've said it before. We are the abused in an abusive relationship.
But it's like, so say for instance, like if you're look,
and we keep coming back.
If you are an uncle, right? So you're an uncle, right?
Spend money.
And when you see your niece or nephew, right, and their mom done told them no for the whole week, and all you got to do to be the good guy, all you got to do is go to the gas station and buy a bag of fruit snacks. What? My uncle's letting me eat fruit snacks before dinner? I love this guy. Who is this guy?
I know,
you be
but
my father?
Eating in this scenario would be winning. This team, this owner, gave us an 0-16.
Yeah.
That's the scarlet letter in football.
Yeah.
How many times has it been done? Twice?
Yeah. Yeah.
Twice.
And then they did the 1-15. They dropped it back to back.
So in the span of, you could go over 3 calendar years. Mm-hmm. The Browns won 1 game. And yet somehow the fan base here are willing to, 1 in 4 fans in this city are willing to say the Haslams are the best owners.
Because they came right back after it. When you lose all them games, sometimes you just want some excitement. They came back after that. It was like, you know what we're gonna do?
I want wins.
Give me Odell Beckham. Give me Kareem Hunt.
No, give me wins.
Spend money.
We draft Myles Garrett, and then Baker Mayfield came. So the narrative.
They're not spending money. There's a salary cap. I mean, you're spending what everybody's spending.
Sometimes the Browns wasn't. When he had Cody Kessler, we weren't spending no money.
The Browns are typically below the salary cap.
Yes,
but not right
We're
now.
not spending what other teams are spending.
Not today.
It's recency bias. You know how it works.
What have we won with this payroll?
All
6 games last year?
It's the hope.
The hope.
It's the hope.
Don't sell me hope. I can't eat
I'm
hope.
telling you, that's what I'm rationalizing for the fans. That's why 22%. I believe that is what 22%.
I am really disappointed that 22% of the respondents think the Haslams are the best owner.
I see G in the chat. G, ask the people.
Yeah,
wow.
listen.
Why, for the people who voted for Haslam,
Why
would
would you say the Haslams are the best owner? Tell G in the chat.
Why are the
I'm
Haslams?
going to put my Browns fandom hat on, knowing how I know the chat. They're going to say they spent for Watson, and in their minds, they are consistently spending what it takes to win a championship. I'm telling you, that's what I think the fan chat.
Wait a minute, you just said they're consistently spending what it takes to win a championship.
That's what I think the fans are going to say. G's asking the question.
Have we won a championship?
There we go.
Jay,
Here
I'm
we go.
telling you what I think the fans are going to say.
I said, why is the Haslams higher than the Dolans, so we can explain your thought process to Jay?
Well, if you compare them specifically to the Dolans, yes, the Dolans, the knock on them, they don't spend money, but they win. The Browns spend money, but they lose.
Yeah?
A knock
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play?
A knock here against Gilbert from a super chat from Charles T is that he got lucky that LeBron wanted a chip in Cleveland. Without that, no championship for him either.
We talk about luck.
We agreed on that.
We agreed on luck.
No, that's
I just want to read that super chat in real quick.
What I'm fascinated to hear, rational talk.
Okay, here we go.
About how 1 in 4 Cleveland fans can say that
I'm pulling up the chat too.
Haslams are the best owners.
Harrison Gwynn is on your side. He says because the Dolans are smart and make great coaching, coaching hires, and they've been doing it for decades.
Joe Manick says Haslam gives us hope.
Hope.
Ken Adams says because they spend money consistently.
0-16.
On Q says willing to spend money.
1 in 15.
Ken C says look at the roster.
The roster? What? I don't look at the roster. I look at the standings. Roster.
Shuttlesworth says the Haslams are trying. The Dolans make excuses and cry broke.
I'll use that argument, Anthony, as a reason why they're the worst owners. Look at the roster. Our rosters the last 4 years should have put us in the playoffs the last 4 years. We've been there once.
Roberto says blame it on the Kool-Aid.
Damn Kool-Aid. Now that's funny.
On Q says what if the Dolans won?
ALCS. They've been to a World Series. Have the Browns been to a Super Bowl?
Ken C said Haslam brought us elite quarterback. Someone named Earl DePearl, who's that loser, said Browns fans are drunk, and I'm one of them. I had season tickets for 1 in 15, 0 in 16, and I purchased them with my chest out.
Earl's smart. I know Earl. I happen to be friends with Earl.
Damon said the Haslams have shown they have improved every year, administratively, personal.
Wait, they have? Because 3 years ago we won 11 games and a playoff game, and the last year it was 6, and the year before that it was 7?
This is undisputable. Ken Adams says 1 in 15 and 0 in 16 was done on purpose. It was just part of the process. You got to bottom out before you could build yourself up.
That's a good owner. Let me kick you in the nuts and see how you rebound.
This is the best.
Well, I think
this is the best segment so far.
We can all agree.
I'm sorry. Listen, This is why we are where we are. The fan base has been buying this pile of shit and nominating him as the best owner in town. As long as you accept this, you're getting this.
Hey, Jay, all right.
Period.
Hey, how many wins you got him? How many wins you got him getting now? Just now.
Say 5. Just say 5.
What, for this coming season?
Yeah, say 5.
I've told you guys I'm at 9.
Yeah, he
Okay.
did say 9. That's
I'm at
true.
9.
Jay said
I was
9.
gonna try to get you to say like 6 or something.
Yeah, I was.
No, listen. And by the way, if they win 9 and miss the playoffs, or if they win 9 and sneak in, they're not moving up my chart. Here's how you move up my chart.
You gotta win.
You gotta get a ring.
Hardware.
Yeah, like
Win something.
So you gotta at least win the AFC.
and-
Win the AFC.
he is consistent. He said he does not like to trade if they don't win no Super Bowl.
That's it.
From day
I
one.
said
He
it,
said
Joe.
that.
Day
Is
one.
Deshaun Watson a good trade? We've debated it a million times. I'll tell you in 5 years.
Yeah.
You see, he didn't
On
say
the
that.
surface, it's not a move I would have made.
Yeah, right.
However, if it works, I'll be the first to sit here and say, I take my hat off to Jimmy and D.
There it is.
They perhaps made the most risky signing in pro sports in the last 10 years. There was a million people against it.
It was
and it
ballsy.
worked.
It
Well,
was-
hey,
was the greatest move of all
and
time.
Speaking of crazy trades, how about Donovan Mitchell for Bradley Beal?
Now, wait a minute. See, now here's what you did there.
See,
You left a perfectly hot topic with a lot of meat left on the bone.
Look,
Talk
to him.
about a Donovan Mitchell Bradley Beal trade. I give up. I give up. And he's been back there for 10 minutes going, we got to move on from this, guys. We got to move on from
We
this.
have
This is-
3 topics left. All
Who gives a rat's ass?
right, fine, Jay, go.
Am I wrong? Is this not a good topic?
Hey, but
No,
listen,
it is.
I was all in the
settled
chat.
on the fact that the Haslams
We've settled
they need
nothing.
to win the
A
AFC
quarter of
championship.
Cleveland sports fans think that Jimmy Haslam is the best owner in town.
25%.
They're drinking the Kool-Aid.
Jay's feisty. I like feisty Jay.
there's-
Jay's only on twice a week now, so like he gets pent
got all
up,
the energy.
pent up
all for
aggression.
Friday.
Tuesday,
No, I
Wednesday.
burned much of it upstairs at Channel 3.
25,
I'm just as feisty up there.
25% is crazy a little bit.
Bro,
but
I know that you are a rationally thinking human being.
yes.
You also drink Kool-Aid, and I understand that.
I actually make the
And you
best
know what?
Kool-Aid in the town.
How old are you? 40?
41.
You're 41.
41.
When I was 41, I walked in your shoes.
Yeah.
I made excuses for my owner. I had hope. I thought they were doing the right thing. I convinced myself every August that we're going to play in January.
Mm-hmm.
When you wash, rinse, repeat, and you pull the clothes out of the laundry and there's still Kool-Aid stains on them, what you're doing isn't working. I can't reward this ownership group with a 2 ranking or a 1 ranking, as 1 in 4 Cleveland sports fans, according to this, gave them the best owner in town label. Guys, they gave you an 0-16. I am sorry for that.
But didn't you? It's part of the process. Did you
So
not hear the guy's comment?
here's the thing.
Did that work? Because, by the way, when we were 0-16 and 1-15, we should have been collecting enough assets to make it to a Super Bowl. Because other teams didn't have to go through 0-16 to get to the top of the talent cycle. Stop making excuses for these guys.
That 25%, there is a growing base. I do radio. There's a growing, even the greatest of Kool-Aid drinkers have now gotten to a point where they sat there at the end of this season and said, look, I love Zadarius Smith. I love the fact that
I love all these offseason
moves.
They're great.
But it still doesn't erase the fact that you came in last place last year.
No, it does not.
So I need you to now overshow me what you're talking about, and then I can get back on the bandwagon. There's a lot of people who think like that.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be what I've learned, in my opinion. There's always going to be 25% of the population that's what they're here for. I'm here because I support my team from hell or high water. I'm rocking with them.
And see, here's my problem with that, G, and this is why this so upsets me. When you let someone get away with something consistently, and there's no ramifications for it, this goes back to John Morant. If you keep giving him light hand slaps, he's going to keep doing what he's been doing. That's society.
Then he goes start taking documents and stuff. Now I'm playing. See, this is why they don't like you, G. Bush. You see what you did? This is why you always throwing stuff in there. They don't like you like that.
Here's what I want. I think that the Haslams do have the capacity to be great owners.
Yes.
But something's kept them from doing it. whether it's his meddling or his hiring the wrong people, there's a reason why he's consistently in last place. I can't reward that as 1/4 of our fans have by calling him the best owner in town.
But can you see why they believe that?
I see why they believe that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that's why we keep getting in last place. This fan base isn't shrinking.
Yeah.
No, it's growing.
It's actually growing.
What happens typically in many other sports cities, when you consistently roll a dog's ass out onto the field, no one wants to go smell it. No one wants to go watch it. People give up. That's what I'm saying. And this is where I would tell people nationally all the time, we've got the greatest fans in the world. But there's a downside to that.
There is.
The downside is you get slapped across the face with the 0-16, and you look the owner in the eye and you say, "Thank you, sir, may I have another?"
Yeah.
I get the eternal optimist side of fans.
You do?
I understand how certain people, whether it's Cleveland, whether it was when I was in Texas or Tennessee, with the Aggies and Tennessee, the Volunteers, who they've won a total of 1 New Year's Six bowl game in the last 50 years between those two. 3. A&M's won 1. I don't know what that is.
And their fans keep coming back.
No matter what happens, they are coming
Hook
back,
'em,
and they are
baby.
expecting a
This is going to be our year.
11-1, 12-2 season.
Yeah.
It's a little different in college because you always have those recruits coming in. You can sell yourself on, we just got the number 6 recruiting class in the country. This is the class that's going to lead us in a school like A&M with the resources, the money they do.
But, Mike, is that
they
fan
always
base tired of being a runner-up?
Yes. And they have little brother syndrome to Texas. So
Right.
to them, the hope is more than the actual success. The off season's 9 months. The regular season's 3 months. They have 9 months of hoping that the next recruit, the next Johnny Football, the next is going to be the guy, and they talk themselves into,
He's here.
this is the guy,
Yeah.
this is why it's going to be different. NFL's a little different. The Browns have Deshaun Watson for 5 years, essentially, based on his contract. They could be more.
Right.
They could trade him. It's probably not going to happen. When you draft a guy, you have him for at least 3-4 years, and it moves on. It's not every year where you're rotating through 10 starters leaving because of transfer portal, graduation, the
You
draft.
have more control of your
More
roster,
control.
for sure.
But I understand why fans, based on human principles, are always optimistic. We don't want to be bummed out on a day-to-day basis.
No.
I think for the most part.
So we're fooling ourselves.
The majority of people wake up and say, I want to have a good day. I hope it's a good day and not,
What's going to go wrong today?
what's going to go on today? So
Right.
I get why,
Well-
and based on this, I can see why fans across all teams could think even an owner of a team who has not produced in the field is doing what it can
No,
to
I
win.
get that, Mike. I get that, and I'm even empathetic to that. I do. When I talk to younger Browns fans, I don't always say this out loud unless I'm really close to them. But many times I'm just looking at them going, "Oh, you're so cute, man. 32 years old. You've been a loser for 12 years already."
So I'm gonna give you this. So okay, let's
I'm
have
a grizzled veteran that's lived it for 50 years.
So say for instance, right? I think it all depends on the lens you're looking at it. If you can look at it from a football lens, because it is the most popular sport, people will find little different reasons and ways to motivate themselves. Now, if you flip it, right? If you say, okay, baseball's my favorite sport and I like the Guardians, right? Yeah. For a person that put the Guardians, we know why we would put the Browns in 25. But what if you put the person who says I voted for the Guardians because they're the worst to me? To those
Wait, you got the Guardians?
No, I'm saying the people who said that
okay.
they're even. Some people will look at the Guardians and say, well, I see a billionaire owner who is selling us that he doesn't have the money.
Right.
And we don't know, does he not have the money?
Right.
I look at a guy who, my favorite players, our favorite players, the guys that we've rooted for traditionally, they're gone. They're going to go to the high prices teams. And I'm looking at a situation where I'm told they don't have money. They're not getting free agents. They do a pretty decent job of making the playoffs. But for me,
well, they've won the division
six times.
But here's the thing.
More than that.
But then that fan says,
years.
if they would just spend this much more,
they could be
champions. So I'm upset at that.
I'm with that too. Yeah. I am upset that the Dolans haven't spent more money. But here's the problem that I have with that. This offseason we spent on Zunino and Bell.
They've been misses.
They've been terrible.
Yeah. Zunino's
colossally bad. Zunino needs to go away.
That's the problem. If you don't never spend money, and then when you do spend money and you don't hit, you now are put into the Browns circumstance.
You just said something that I had never thought of this till you just said this. We look at baseball contracts, and when they played the Padres last night, the top 4 guys in the Padres lineup are all $300 million players, making $30 to $35 to even $40 million a year, annually. Yeah. The Guardians won't DFA Zunino over $6 million.
I know, and let me tell you that
it did not register with me that
they're wrong for that too.
And that's what I think.
They deserve to be beat up.
And that's why I think people who, even if they put the Haslam second, I think Gilbert is the best in town. If people want to say, hey, you guys can't admit a $6 million mistake when you're a billionaire, right? And we have other teams, even in the division, with Carlos Correa getting a $250 million deal from the Twins. The White Sox have spent big money. Yeah. And Shohei Ohtani might get $60 million a year. And you can't admit a $6 million mistake because that could break your checkbook.
And by the way, last night he had a rookie catcher hit a home run, and I've seen this kid hit. Now, I know his numbers aren't great. I think he had a couple hits last night.
David Fry.
I'm willing to turn the page.
Bo Naylor, David Fry, put G. Bush back there.
Just give me Fry, because for whatever reason, they don't think Bo Naylor's ready.
And that's another
Fry made a couple
thing.
of nice throws last night. Yeah. Here's the thing with Zunino. At least Hedges was great defensively.
Zunino's a bum.
Zunino is not good behind the plate, and he's not good at the plate. No. It's a mistake. Admit it and get rid of him.
And if it was $25 million, you're like, hey, we can't swallow that pill. Okay, you know what? That's a big. Even in the grand scheme of baseball, $25 million is $25 million. A $6 million mistake. When you look across the league, and the Mets have a team payroll this year of like $390 million. I don't want to hear that.
I don't either. And for that, the Dolans are absolutely wrong. But here's the point that I'll make on that. In February, it was a good idea.
Yeah.
We all sat here and we said Zunino's an upgrade and Bell's an upgrade. Now we have a body of work, 3 months of the season, where we've been able to look at 2.5, where we've been able to look at it and say, that's a mistake. Here's where I disagree with the Dolans. It was a great idea in February. It was a bad idea on May 1st, and it's been a bad idea on June 1st. How long are we going to live in this mistake? When you realize this is who he is, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. Here's why. You make that mistake every day you put him in the lineup. You make your team weaker. That's not the job of the front office. The job of the front office is to put the best 9 on the field every day, irregardless of how much money they make. When they trot Bell and Zunino out there every day, and we know that that's a total of 6 outs every day between the two of them, you have taken 2 innings away from the offensive club of this team. You're hurting this team by compounding your initial mistake.
So what they're saying is, and this is fair foul. Human nature is, I can deal with some misdeeds. I can deal with some things if you're being aggressive. But if you're being conservative and you lose, we're going to question, well, why aren't the young kids playing?
Right.
Why are we not, getting rid of the $6 million? So the Haslams, in a way, money is a nice optical illusion. If you can hand somebody a name, right, better or worse, they realized that they took the hit immediately, but they said if Deshaun Watson plays himself out, we tried it the other way. We tried to get Baker. We tried to draft him.
And I commend them for that. They went big.
They said, boom. That $250 million, they'll get harassed for it in the beginning because he'll have to go through allegations and stuff. Sure. But if it hits, what it will do,
it's worth every cent.
It'll say, look, they're willing to spend $250 just to get it done.
When no one else was.
Nobody else was.
That's what I'm saying. So these things are fluid.
Yes.
Yeah. The Haslams right now are entrenched for me is number 3, and it's not close. There's a big gap between 1 and 2 because I think it's 1 and 1A, and then there's this guy. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. If this move works, I'll be the first one to jump in this chair and to scream kudos to the Haslams. They tried it the other way. It never worked. They tried drafting number 1 quarterbacks. They had some success, but not sustained. They tried doing it this way. They tried doing it that way. Then they finally went out and said, we're going to solve the Rubik's Cube with money. We're going to go buy a quarterback. Now, this is boom or bust. Yeah. And that's what I said the day of the trade. If it works, the Haslams become the toast of the town, and it only works for me with the Super Bowl. That's it.
Now,
because with the other guy, we were a 4th and 14 away from playing for the AFC Championship.
And this conversation started with Stan Kroenke. If the Matthew Stafford trade doesn't result in a Super Bowl,
you're right.
That trade's a failure because they gave up 2 first-round
picks. And by the way,
picks.
that trade set their organization back.
Now it's worth it.
Now they got the prize.
It is totally
worth it. But now they're going to go through a cycle of missing the playoffs.
Exactly.
But I'll walk through those coals if I need to.
Yeah,
if there's a ring on the other side, I'll walk through those coals.
Now watch this. Now we just talked about who's number 1 in town, right? We talked about now the Cavs made a deal for Donovan Mitchell, and it cost them 3 first-round picks.
Same thing. Big boom or bust.
They can go for a lot of people from 1 to 3 real quick. Because if they don't get anything for Donovan Mitchell and they gave away all those picks, you're going to say to yourself, you know what? Was it worth it?
It was a fail.
We should have stayed the task.
Before we talk about a Donovan Mitchell trade, I know you have a read, Anthony, and then we'll talk more about that very thing because that's what Cavs fans are talking about now. Is it time to move off Donovan Mitchell already after 151-win season?
Yeah, so I just want to remind everybody that the lunch hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is brought to you by Colleague Companies Championship. You can see your favorite golf legends play in the Colleague Companies Championship July 12th through July 16th at the famous Firestone Country Club. Fun, family-friendly events all week long featuring a new fan zone, free attendance for kids, and concerts every single night. There's something for everyone. You can learn more at colleaguegolf.com. And this is also, we're going to get into the Donovan Mitchell trade. It's going to be brought to you by the USFL. It's the last weekend you can go see. Well, maybe the last weekend. It's do or die for Boogie and the Pittsburgh Maulers. $10 a ticket. Go down to Canton and support our man Boogie.
Are they
go watch
favored
the
in that game? I don't look at those lines.
I have no idea.
Who's the favorite? I can look that up.
Their offense is not like that. They better get
their offense is thin.
They better get them some safeties, some scoop and scores, some strips.
Well, they had 4 picks last week.
Yeah.
For the team they're playing is also 3-7 or 3-6. So
this is a winnable
It's a
game.
pretty even.
It's
they're the home
win
team.
and go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Win and
okay,
go to the playoffs.
good. All right, the Donovan Mitchell thing. Is it time to move on him?
I asked Jay. When we had Jay in here, we be grilling him. So we love to put our quotes out there and then say Jay said it. So Jason.
So he says Jay, he means Jason Lloyd, not just
Jay. Jason Lloyd. No, here's the thing. I asked a lot of people, and what I did is I start from the premise. Okay, tell me why Donovan Mitchell would sign a contract here in another year.
He's not re-signing here.
Yeah. So if you start with that premise, right, that means you have him for next year, and then
he's in his last year.
He's in his last year. You can't. We're not moving. We're not doing the Francisco Lindor stuff. We need or Bieber. We need in the NBA. You need to get something immediately. All that trade deadline, you can still get no.
So the time's to trade him is now?
The time that you're going to get your best deal, your biggest move, is if you trade him. I think about trading him in the summer. Now, the reason they won't do it is because that would have meant that you made a mistake.
Right.
You traded 3 first-round picks for a guy that did not move your needle.
But do you live in your mistake to compound your mistake? Like what I said, what the Guardians are doing, putting Zunino and Bell in the lineup every day. They're telling fans, this wasn't a mistake.
No. I've learned from my mistakes. I learned from Kyrie Irving. I've learned from LeBron James twice.
So when you make them move on immediately as fast as you can.
When you made that move, what you can do right now is say, look, it just didn't fit. It didn't work. You can lie to yourself and say, this situation to get better, we'll group and we'll grow together. And even if you do go to the second round, right? Say you win the first round game, you go to the second round, you lose. Everybody still knows Donovan Mitchell wants to go where he wants to go. You don't have any control over that. So at the end of the day,
were you pissed that he threw out the first pitch at a Mets game?
No, I listen.
He's been telling you that for years.
If we got mad at every player who threw out a first pitch in a different city than the team they played in, then we would never not be pissed off. So I listen. He's a Mets fan. His dad works for the organization. Who cares if he threw out a first pitch?
Right.
The public flirtation between Donovan Mitchell and the Knicks is evident. It's obvious.
But you understand, Donovan's a smart kid.
Yeah.
And you also understand that he did the mental gymnastics on that decision before he did it.
Yeah.
And he still came to the decision, because he could have said no.
Yeah, but who cares?
He still came to the decision, I'm going to do it irregardless of the optics in Cleveland.
He's telling McNuggets, he's telling Kobe Altman. That's why I didn't understand it. He's telling Kobe Altman, I just spent...
The first pitch, you mean?
No. He's telling Kobe Altman, when he said he's not making no trades, he said, oh, well, y'all just like Utah. because I told you in Utah that I wanted to be better than where we was at.
Right.
And so they traded me, and I'm here. So I'm going to take it for face value. I thought he was having a good time. Everything is good. 71 points, 51 wins, all that good stuff. A GM that has a vision says, we got to make some changes because we view ourselves as a championship team. He didn't say it, so guess what he's going to do? I'm going to go to New York and show.
Not only did he not say that, he said, we're standing pat.
51 wins is a mark in this league.
No major changes coming.
The question Anthony asked in the rundown technically was, is Donovan Mitchell a rental player?
Yes.
That was the question I sent.
Well, yeah, I think we've answered that.
The answer is emphatically yes.
Sure.
And the reality of the NBA is every superstar you acquire, whether it's via the draft, free agency, or trade,
you're right,
is a rental.
You're right.
I'm going to name some guys over the last 5, 6, 7 years who have been traded, requested trade, been in trade talks, who are at least in the same status, if not even higher, than Donovan Mitchell.
Okay.
Kevin Durant,
Traded.
Kyrie Irving,
Traded.
James Harden,
Traded.
Jimmy Butler, Rudy Gobert, who is still he has more All-Pro selections, or All-NBA selections than Donovan Mitchell. He's not better, but whatever. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and I'm probably missing 4, 5, 6 more.
And did all those guys change teams?
Yeah, they all been traded.
Okay.
So
that's a great exercise. I'm glad you did that.
superstars in the NBA, stars, superstars, they're all rentals. No matter how you label them, they're all rentals.
Is
the
Jokic,
only guys who stay are really the European guys.
I was just going to ask that. Is Jokic a rental?
No, I think he loves Denver. I think
he's staying there. I don't think he's leaving.
And like Luka, he could move.
This guy's different now.
Oh yeah, he said I got.
Joker's a different dude.
He said I'm going back to Serbia. Like,
I don't need a parade. I'm cool.
I said you leaving the country. He was mad too.
So like there are certain exceptions.
Can we get a superstar like that?
Jokic may never move. Giannis may never move. Who knows? But when it comes to the Mitchell trade, whether they should trade him now or next year, I think one thing to consider, or two things really. One, the Eastern Conference next season is a complete jambalaya of teams we don't know enough about.
Right, that's true.
So I don't think the Cavs were good enough this year. I think there's so much more uncertainty in the Eastern Conference next year that even without major changes,
so you think they could be
minor
better
upgrades,
because everybody else got worse?
Yeah, I frankly I do, and I think a second year playing together with Garland, they'll inherently be a little better. Mobley should take another step forward. That doesn't cost any money. They don't have a lot of money to spend on the roster to improve it. Do I think they're championship caliber? No. But I do think they're competitive enough in a down Eastern Conference to make some legitimate noise.
So you make the noise.
And then two, the other reason why I'm not sure it makes sense to move him now as opposed to next year, there's a lot of superstars who could get moved this year with the new CBA kicking in, with that second tax apron, which a lot of teams are looking at as a hard cap. I don't know if your return on investment for a guy like Mitchell, a guy like Bradley Beal, who we might talk about in a sec, for a guy like Dame Lillard, is going to be as high as you think it will be next year when teams have a full year to flush their rosters of salary, get guys off the books.
And then those guys are available. So it's not like Mitchell, in theory, if the Cavs were to make him available, would be the only superstar available right now. Right.
You'd be competing against guys like Beal, like Damian Lillard.
So do you trade him this summer?
No. I think you run it back. You see, hopefully, best case scenario, you make the Eastern Conference Finals, you make the NBA Finals, and Mitchell says, you know what?
I can win.
Just like McNuggets. He had no expectations for Cleveland, fell in love with the city. I don't want to leave now.
But
he's telling you. He done already told you.
And that could be true. But
you know what, Jimmy? He has. But Mike
you.
brings up a good point, and I'll tell you why. The one thing all these guys want is hardware or a legitimate chance to win hardware. And what 2022, 2023, and the aftermath told Donovan Mitchell, we didn't get it, we're not close, and management publicly stated we're not making major changes, which means we're not likely to be close next year unless the competition all takes a step back.
Which I think it will.
And so if that's the case, right now, today, you could get more for him if you move him now. Yes. However, I like your idea of take a swing at it. If you're in the home run derby and you've got one swing left and there's a chance you could tie, you're not going to flip your bat and walk away and say, it's not going to happen. You're going to take that swing. You're going to try. And here's the thing. If the Cavs find a shooter, find a three, gel in the second season together, that's a great point that's probably haven't been talked about enough. It takes a season to come together. We saw that. If they, by chance, win 55, Boston steps back, Philly steps back, Milwaukee steps back, and they trip into a 1 or 2, and then get hot in April and May, who the hell knows? No one gave Denver a chance to win. Everybody kept saying, well, the winner's going to be out of the East.
I will tell you.
Can I ask you a question real quick, then I want you to go? Hypothetical, this is not a real trade. I'm just throwing out for pure, this is not real. I'm just throwing out an example. Let's say the Knicks, we'll use them because that's who he's flirted with. This summer offered you R.J. Barrett, salaries that matched, and 3 first-round picks this year. And next offseason, it was Barrett, salaries, and 2 picks. Would giving it one more run with Mitchell, in your opinion, be worth 1 extra first-round pick?
Yes, I would say.
Because I think that's the difference in trading him this offseason versus
a swing.
Is one pick.
Take a swing.
In my opinion, that's
and by the
worth
way,
going
those
for.
picks are likely going to be meaningless picks.
Yeah,
they're going to be 26, 24. The Knicks are coming.
Yeah.
The Knicks are coming.
So I don't want to cut you off. That was my question.
No, I will.
I'm trying to value what an extra year of Mitchell is to return on investment.
So I'll look at it this way, and if I would, I just go by. I'm going by what the predecessors have told me. When Kawhi Leonard won a championship and he left, unapologetically, it has never been done. Let's think about it. Kyrie Irving hit the biggest shot in history. He was drafted #1 overall by the Cavs, hit the biggest shot in the history of the Cavs. Multiple 40-point games in the finals. #1 selling jersey, shot 25 times more than LeBron. The hottest shoes in the game. Kids love his shoes.
Still wear them today.
And he said, I got to go. That changes a lot the way you think. You're like, well, what else do you want?
There's no loyalty.
When Kawhi Leonard won, he won the championship, beat the Warriors, and was like, I'll talk to you later. You already know where I'm going. Yeah. And if you could exchange that for a championship, I would take it.
Yeah, I would too.
However,
what about the chance to win a championship?
If they got me to a point where I thought we had a chance, I'm all for it. The problem is when you start talking about getting rid of Jared Allen, people, oh my gosh, clutch my pearls. We can't do that. We like our core. No. When you get Donovan Mitchell and you give 3 picks up, nobody is safe. Yeah. Because that means you got to be able to be in a position to do whatever it takes to maximize everything for 1 to 2 years.
Right.
And that means you weren't prepared to do that. You just went and got, Kobe Altman wanted to just take his time, sit back, he could have let this thing grow, matriculate. He could have kept Sexton or got rid of him. He could have kept marketing. He could have kept all those guys, right? And they probably still would have made the playoffs this year, right?
I would expect.
Now, he could have sat back, did it organically. Nobody would have said nothing. But you got to think about when you make moves. When you made a Donovan Mitchell move,
you're all in.
It was the Deshaun Watson move on the other side. Right. Now, and when you made that move, we said, oh, you got 6 games, Stefanski. That's how much it ratchets it up. Like now, you look at that, hey, we trying to figure out. You got to at least this year, you got to at least go to the Eastern Conference Finals.
So I agree with what you're saying. The difference in the Kawhi situation and this situation is if they don't trade him now, they can still trade him next offseason. So you're going to get some return back for Donovan Mitchell one way or another.
A little.
But diminished.
It's diminished, but...
Because then you've got 1 year of control.
And don't let him get hurt. Don't let him get hurt.
But look what these superstars have gotten back in return. I mean, Kevin Durant, who's a different caliber of player. Do not get me twisted.
He's in the next tier.
But Donovan Mitchell is significantly younger, significantly healthier.
Yeah.
And contractually, they both make around the same money. But Kevin Durant just got traded for 4 first-round picks and 3 legitimate players who are now cornerstones for the Nets.
And it was a crazy trade.
I'm afraid.
It was way too much.
But that's what I'm saying. You'll get back more than I think you.
But I'm afraid.
I'm
afraid that Donovan Mitchell is the trade that you moved the new car off the lot. Once you moved it off the lot, you lost value. Think about what they gave up to get him.
Yeah.
They got Abaji, who was a first-round pick. They got Colin Sexton, who was a top whatever pick, averages 24 in the game. And then they got an all-star, a 7-foot all-star, and 3 first-round picks. So are you going to get a 7-foot all-star back for Donovan Mitchell? No. Are you going to get somebody to average 24 points? No. Are you going to get 3 first-round picks for him? No. Look at that.
So for that 1-year rental.
For that 1-year rental.
Got one playoff win.
Which is why you can't. It's why I think you can't just get rid of him now. And Bill Simmons did something on his podcast probably 3 months ago. He talked about the 10 biggest trade returns. Like players traded what they got back. Mm-hmm. And if it was either 7 or 8 have been in the last 4 or 5 years. So you're just, the natural progression of the NBA is you trade a superstar, you get more. Rudy Gobert just got 5 first-round picks back for him. So let's not pretend that with 1 year left on his contract, you're not still getting a massive return for Donovan Mitchell.
Haven't we seen the diminished value of picks? Like it used to be, picks were gold, but you can do it without picks. There's other ways you can do it.
But right now you're right. But right now teams are getting picks and players.
That's what I want.
I mean, the Nets got
because we gave up picks and players.
That's what I need.
We lost 2 all-star caliber players and 3 first-round picks.
Well, that's why the fake trade I threw out to G. Bush was R.J. Barrett, who's a young player. Which I'm just using an example. Just young player, third pick.
Who came up with the Bradley Beal idea?
The Cavs trade for that?
Yeah.
That was me, but I wouldn't do it. I just was trying to find something.
Okay, because I was wondering. I was like, God, is someone suggesting that?
No. So
that was just you kind of hypothesized.
Well,
if they give me the first-round pick, I would think about it because I don't think the Washington are going to be good. Wizards are going to be good.
Let's talk Bradley Beal for a sec. Let's pull.
Yeah.
Let's start with the first trade. So Bobby Marks proposed. So Bradley Beal is speaking with the general manager of. Start with the first one. The Wizards just hired an Emerson basketball alum. Shout out to Will Dawkins to be their new general manager. Bobby Marks of ESPN proposed 3 trades for Bradley Beal, and I was like, let's just see what we can do with the Cavs one. So this is the first one that Bobby Marks proposed to the Heat. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, a top 10 protected 2028 first-round pick for Bradley Beal. The second one, Anthony, let's run down the list here. This was a Knicks trade. Evan Fournier, Mitchell Robinson, Derrick Rose, a 2024 first-round pick that was initially Washington's. They'd be getting their own first-round pick back, plus a 25 first-round pick. Next one, Ant. This was the 76ers. Tobias Harris, Furkan Korkmaz, and a top 10 protected 30-30 first-round pick. Before you take the Cavs.
20-30?
Drop this real quick.
What's that all about, Mike?
They can't trade. The Nets have all their picks for the next couple of years. They can't trade a first-round pick for forever. So,
but do you really want a 20-30 first-round pick?
I mean,
if you could throw it in there and get somebody.
I mean, that player right now is 11.
Yeah.
The reason Bradley Beal is not going to get back as much as you would think is he has one of the worst contracts in basketball. He signed a 5-year.
Beal does have a terrible deal.
5-year, $251 million contract
Averages
extension.
$50 million.
Last July, his cap hits the next 4 years. 46.7 this year, 50.2 next year.
Jeez.
53.6 in 2025.
He has a 4th-year player option.
And a 4th-year player option, which, breaking news, I'm going to break this news 4 years in advance. He's going to accept his 2026, 2027 player option.
Well, of course he is. He'll be 35 years old.
At $57.1 million.
You know who's younger, more dynamic, and has a better contract? Donovan Mitchell.
So,
way younger. Donovan Mitchell's 26.
So
Beal will be 30 when the season starts.
If you put Donovan Mitchell on the market and you put Bradley Beal on the market, who do you believe is going to get if you're a team that wants to get over the hump? And the Donovan Mitchell trade
all day, every day.
But do you think any of the return, and you get a little more than that, or you get more than that for Mitchell, but any of those 3 returns before we show the Cavs, Hero, Robinson in a first, Korkmaz, Tobias Harris in a first, or Fournier, Mitchell Robinson, and 2, like none of those is worth Donovan Mitchell getting back.
They're not moving the needle.
They're not moving the needle.
No.
Bradley Beal
but Mitchell is more valuable.
That's what I'm saying. You get a little more, but
let me hold on.
You're not getting.
Hold on now. Tyler Hero is a shooter. Duncan Robinson is a shooter. And if the Miami Heat want to give me some picks, give me 2-3 picks. All of a sudden, I got shooters.
Okay, now that's a totally different issue.
I got shooters.
But in Bradley Beal, he's 30. His last 2 years, he's missed significant time with injuries. I know last year he had a knee injury, and then because they were out of it, they just shut him down.
Yeah.
He probably could have come back, but I think he only played like 50 games, something like that.
Anyone who trades for Bradley Beal, it's a suicide mission.
It is, Mike, because here's the rub with him. Aside from the $50 million average cap hit that he's going to have for the next 3 years, at 34 years old, of course he's going to exercise that, or he's not going to exercise that option and move. Because he'll never get that on the open market. Yeah. He's going to hold a team hostage in that year, his 34th year.
Man.
And he's going to have to be paid another $50 million, and that hit is too big.
He's a top 30 player in the league between 25 and 30. He's getting paid like a top. He's getting paid the same amount.
Do you think he's still a top 30? Because I think last year he kind of fell out of that.
He's on the fringe. Like, if you want to tell me he's 26 or 33,
the
I'm
last
not gonna
2
get
years,
mad,
Bradley Beal has averaged 7.5 points a game less than he did the previous 2 years.
That's tough. That's rough.
So there's a decline.
He gets paid the same amount as Steph, as LeBron, as Giannis, and those guys are here, and Bradley Beal.
By the way,
I would.
By the way,
I wouldn't touch him.
My head cannon is going off. Like in my mind, I'm just this Donovan Mitchell to the Heat move. Can I get Caleb Martin too? Can I get him and give me Duncan Robinson and old boy Tyler
Now
Hero?
you're getting greedy. Now you're getting greedy.
I can't get Caleb Martin either.
Yeah, no, they're not throwing anything else in. But listen, I like that trade.
I like that
I
trade.
like your original framework of a trade.
I like that trade.
I wonder what Pat Riley would say.
What would he say?
Well, my buddy is the video guy. I'm texting
Man,
right now.
I got shooting off the bench.
That's where I love the trade. For that reason.
And you might give me a pick too. I get a pick back.
You get a pick back.
Oh
for that,
man, stop! I do it today, and they'll be like, "G. Bush, you kidding?" I'm like, no. Now listen, he's gonna go down there and be good, but I mean, Miami needs scoring.
He might be the piece they need.
He might be Miami.
But what's interesting with how much tread does Jimmy Butler have on the tires?
I ain't counting that man out.
I know, I'm afraid to
I'm not
also,
counting.
but I keep looking at him saying, is he getting old yet?
He needs some help, though.
Real
He does
quick.
need some help.
though.
Real quick. Anthony, pull up the Cavs trade. They will not do this. I'm just saying this is if the Cavs are going to make a Beal trade. I asked G this yesterday. G said he would do it yesterday. He may have changed his mind. Jason said no way. I wouldn't do this with. I wouldn't touch it with a 1,000-foot pole.
I wouldn't either.
Have you changed your opinion?
I thought this is 2 first-round picks. What happened to the other pick?
No, we just said the one first round.
Oh, no. I need 2. I need 2 back.
Right.
Unless they're going to give me, what's that old boy? He's a Kyle Kuzma?
Well, Kuzma's a free agent. He's going to get $20 million.
Oh, he is a free agent?
Yeah, he's a free agent.
Yeah, because if he was under team control and we could throw him in,
that's
now
a
I'm
different
very
story.
interested.
Once again, that's not proposed. I just figured to have some fun on the trade machine. If the Cavs were going to make a deal, that's probably the only one that works.
Yeah.
$43 million. They don't have a lot of contracts that have to $43 million, by the way. That's a lot of money you have to add up.
That is a ton of
Anthony,
money.
you did a special top 5 that I got to get in. Let's do top 5.
All right, let's do it real quick. I got to tell Steve the number because I was
Who
not
was the
prepared.
former bartender, by the way?
Anthony.
Was he really?
Yeah, camera's not here, but Tavern in Little Italy. I wore my shirt today.
I didn't know you worked there.
I bartended for 8 months and I cooked for 6, something like that.
Which did you like more?
Depended on the day. I hated both of them pretty much equally. I was not great at either. But the
Hey.
people I worked with were fantastic. If
Awesome.
you ever need a good bite to eat in Little Italy, go to
When
Totally.
you were working in them kitchens and people don't understand, you got to wash dishes before it's done.
We got 3 minutes in.
Yeah, we got to do this. All right, so number 5, we're going to go with something simple.
Wait,
Tito's and lemonade.
what's the category?
It's
Summer
best drinks of the summer.
Okay.
I got to change my super.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm all over the place back here.
Tito's Lemonade, good drink.
Yeah,
It's
that is a
simple.
good drink. I like
Real
that.
simple.
It's refreshing. It's crisp. I'd definitely be on my top 5.
Okay.
All right, so number 4, simple, vodka martini. We had a special one at Tolly called the Little Italy Lace that had limoncello in it.
Oh, see that?
It was my favorite drink to make, and it was one of my favorite
I
drinks that
don't
we had on
like
the menu.
martinis. I just don't like the flavor of it. But with limoncello in, you put limoncello in anything, I'll drink it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Shots. That's what I do.
It's shots on the list.
Shots are not on the list.
Then you messed up,
Honorable
messed
mention
up.
to shots.
Messed up.
Jameson.
Number 3,
No.
if I had to do an overall favorite drink list, this is my all-time favorite drink. a
That's my
Moscow
wife's
Mule.
drink. My wife
I knew
loves
that was going to be
Moscow
on
Mule.
here.
Isn't that kind of a chick drink?
Yes.
I don't care if it's chick drink, guy drink.
Okay.
They, them drink, anybody
Because
drink.
my wife
I
loves
love it.
those, man. She can kill the Moscow Mules. She's
All
not
right,
a
number
big drinker,
2.
but when she does, that's what she drinks.
Mojito.
No.
Yeah,
nope,
I like
nope.
You don't like mojitos?
I
The little
hate
mint,
mint.
you can do them.
Oh, wow.
I think I've told you. I have no sense of smell. I think I've told you this.
Are you allergic to mint?
No, but mint's the only thing that registers any sort of sense or sensation in my nose. It just gets tingly, and I hate that feeling.
So
You smell
I
nothing
smell
but
nothing.
mint?
No, I smell nothing at all. Mint doesn't register. It
hold
just
on.
tingles.
I
No,
know.
hold on.
We've had this conversation before.
How do you taste food then?
I'm sure it's different. I don't know how you taste food, so I'm sure it's a little different. But if you put barbecue chips, sour cream and onion chips, regular chips, salt, I can tell you which one's which. I taste stuff. I'm sure it's not as defined as yours, but I have no.
Do you have? Is it a reason for that?
We don't have Anthony finish this. If we have time, I'll tell you the story how I found out.
Yeah, real.
But there's
So
a
a
nerve in my
tequila
nose.
or
Because I'm just as fascinated by the fact that you can't smell
Zero
anything.
sense of smell.
Yeah.
number 1,
Wow.
tequila or a Corona Sunrise. Both are equally
Delicious, delicious, great call.
Yeah, I'm in on both of those.
Great call.
No sex on the beaches?
It's a classy man, bro. Chill.
Oh yeah. He's like, nah. He was like sex.
Not in public. Come on,
Right.
not for
Yeah.
Ant.
We can't
They
get
don't
that
sponsor us, but go get a drink at Tolly this weekend. It's a long weekend.
Those are all good drinks. I've got no issues with any
So
of
so
those.
this
can't
is
do
crazy.
mojito, yeah.
You can't smell.
Nah.
I grow extra bones, and Jay has different color eyes.
We're just a freak show.
Oh, and my heart doesn't work. I
yeah,
was
Anthony's
born
heart
with
doesn't
4
work,
holes
yeah.
in my heart, and I still have 1 left.
Will that ever repair itself or surgery?
Probably not.
Have you had surgery?
I've had one surgery for one of them.
Yeah, you see the scar. Anthony's got a giant scar down
Yeah,
his
no,
side.
I know.
Surgery for
I
one
was
of them,
gonna, I was gonna bust his stones once in the gym because he was benching like the bar and like 10 pounds or something.
Oh
like,
yeah, no, that's
bro.
It doesn't get much better than that.
What is up? And he's like, no, I can't lift more than 45 pounds or something.
Give or take. I think my max has been 135.
Hey, bro, listen, you got out of a lot of chores. I had always been telling my mom, my heart hurts. Stop playing with me. I can't
I got out of
breathe.
school a few times.
I can't breathe. I'm not running no gassers, coach. No gassers for me. I can't breathe.
Heart troubles.
G. Bush, you just fat.
All right, we had a very passionate show today. We've decided the ownership pecking order in Cleveland. 1 in 4 Cleveland fans prefer Haslam
Yes.
over all the other owners.
Somewhere.
Go figure.
Somewhere Haslam is in a dark room
You know what he's
laughing.
doing? He's watching this going,
The plan.
I still have them fooled.
The plan is working beautifully, my
Except
Overtime's
trash.
next.
We'll see you Tuesday. No show Monday.
Trash.